Okay, here we are. Welcome again.
Welcome, everybody.
It's Conspiracy or Not. Here we come. This is episode number 31, excuse me. It is, see, I almost screwed up because it is Friday and it is March 3rd. It's 33 Day, by the way. I wanted to bring that up.
33 Day, yes.
So look who we have with us. We have Global Agenda. We have Mark with us, and I'm joined as usual with Amy and Ian. Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hello, crew. How are you?
Mark, thank you.
Good to have you on the show, Global Agenda. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hanging in here.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for your time. And quite seriously, I want to say thanks for what you do. You've got a truly amazing ability to make some astounding connections, and the work you're doing over your channel is just off the charts, man. Just really, really good job. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for being here with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rufus.
Okay, so Mark is a blogger, a vlogger, a video blogger, and a researcher, and he's got an amazing YouTube channel. And basically, I'm going to turn it over to Mark and just let him introduce himself and tell us whatever portion of the bio he would like you to know about. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. First of all, I'd like to take this time to appreciate the welcome and the invite, Amy. From a couple weeks ago, we talked about coming onto the show, and I've been in the back watching the show, and I see it's growing, and it's going to continue to grow. So I appreciate the chance to come on live and do a vidcast podcast or whatever we call it here on YouTube. I do enjoy making videos, and I have enjoyed making videos since probably 2014. I came into YouTube in July 2013 as per my channel, but I've been watching YouTube since its inception. I'm not a spring chicken, so I've been around a long time. Basically, it was the MH370 that led me to start doing videos, and I had enough of these plane crashes, and I started looking into it, and that's was my beginning of my my video blogging was the crash of MH370, and since then there's been lots more planes going down and whatnot, and I've kind of discovered that life is not the way it's been fed to us, and I learned this probably in late 80s, early 90s, before the internet really kicked off. I read a 15-page analysis on the beginning of the internet called William Cooper Exhibit. It was a 15-page summary of William Cooper's beliefs, and from there I was like, and I was working in the prison at the time, and I'd been doing 15 years on the other side of the bars, I like to call it, and that was when I discovered that all is not rosy in this kingdom we're living in, and I started to look into why are there so many Freemason correctional officers, and that was the beginning of my rabbit hole. And then somebody led me to a word called the Illuminati, and this was back in the 90s. And so I'm now a full-fledged conspiracy theorist, if you'd like to say.
Well, join the club.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst.
Realist, isn't that what we call it, Amy? Conspiracy realist?
Well, I prefer analyst because I analyze these things to death.
You're good at it, Amy.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Hello, everybody in the chat. We got Jordan Rains already, Conscience. We got good old Conchi with us.
Oh, hey, Dom.
New Bean.
Awesome.
New Bean. Jordan.
We have a new
Bean.
Here, Baz Gage.
Awesome. I'm not looking at the chat right now. I've got my pile of notes ahead of me, and I'm just trying to get my brain geared up for getting a good start going here. I've got just a couple of articles I want to run over. We don't have to go into too much detail. It's just kind of a couple of things that have caught my attention this week that I jot down, and just a few things to get the old blood boiling and get the conversation going. So whenever you guys are ready, and like I said, we don't have to go into too much detail unless you want to. We could spend a few minutes. I mean, we've got 3 hours tonight. As usual, there's no hurry, there's no rush. But one thing I do want to do is we are going to go into Max Spiers. We're going to go as deep as we can on that, and I want to devote as much time as necessary. I know Mark has a lot of information. He's produced an hour and 20-minute documentary. He's produced a 30-minute documentary, and I understand he's working on the third installment. I don't know. I think he said it was already 90 minutes on his last edit. So I know Mark has lots of information on Max Spiers, and I have had the entire week off from work, and so I've been digging hard on Max Spiers. I've got pages and pages worth of notes, and we're going to be going at it hard on Max Spiers tonight. And when we run out of that, we can go anywhere we want to go. So,
sure it will.
So with that, let me just throw a couple of headlines at you and see how you guys feel. And if you want to, we can, open up a link and examine the article in a little bit more depth. Y'all feel free to just interrupt me and stop me whenever you want to. And like I said, we can pull up an article and have a look at it. One of the first things that caught my attention, well, you remember last week we talked about that Arizona was poised to pass legislation that would make it possible for them to seize the assets of protesters, anyone who took part in a protest that turned violent.
Yep.
Yeah, remember we covered that a little bit.
Indeed.
Well, literally the day or two after that we did that show, this article comes out that says 18 states have introduced legislation. 18 states already are working on legislation that would make it possible for them to seize the assets of anyone that would participate in a violent protest that turned violent.
You have to know that they orchestrated this. I mean, it wouldn't happen organically like that this would just blossom.
No, exactly.
No way.
We know about the agent provocateurs, or as Cerebrosana would say, agent provocateur.
Yep.
So it's problem, reaction, solution. In my mind, what I see is that they have found a way to capitalize on protests.
Absolutely. Oh, they'll find a way to take our money and our stuff at every opportunity.
So let's see here. I'm going to open up the other chat box. Okay, got it.
Also heard that you guys were going to be implementing laws about masks too, right? If you have a mask or covering your face at a protest.
See, this might be one of those articles that we could open up. In fact, if Ian, while I'm chatting away or while we're chatting, if you want to do a screen share and just do a search for 18 states introduced legislation, that article should pop up. That's how I found it. My wife is on Facebook, and she let me know that was in the works. That's how I found it. Let me see. If anybody's working on it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll do it.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you're doing that, I'll also mention 229 House Republicans voted to keep Donald Trump's tax returns private. Literally, no Republican voted against that.
You're kidding. Oh, jeez.
When was that one there? When did that one come out?
Again, we'll have to pull the article up. I really just jotted down the headline. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't put a date on this one.
I didn't see that one.
So this is the states here where Republican lawmakers have introduced legislation to crack down on certain protest tactics or announced their intention to do so.
In my notes, I have jotted down underneath of that headline that we should actually browse the comments from the poll that was conducted under that article. And the reason I jotted that down is because when I glanced at, the comments that people were saying under that article, the majority of the people were for this. They were like, hell yeah, lock them up, take their shit. And
oh, geez.
it's just...
Do we know for real that these are real people that are doing that, or are we, are we dealing with
commenting?
Yeah, or are we dealing with some more agent provocateur?
Well, who the hell knows for sure? I mean,
I'm going to bet that is not real people.
That occurred to me as well. That some plants.
Well, especially the ones that show up with all these fancy signs right off the bat. Set up to begin already. Like you said, we don't even know. Up here in Canada, we've had lots of agent provocateur incidences.
This is by no means. Hang on, slide back just a little bit there. You want to? There was the article that I found, Ian, actually listed all of the states individually and the provisions of each legislation in each state, and basically some of them. It sounded quite reasonable. They were saying things like they wanted to make it illegal to wear masks, which I agree with, right? Who could disagree with that? I mean, if you're going to go protest, why are you wearing a ski mask? You're up to no good.
Yeah, I have an article here on pollstocongress.com, and it's listing what the Washington Post said, and I guess Washington Post has an article, but that's not what came up first in my search. But it's talking about, these aren't the details. They're just giving an overview of what each state is proposing.
Oh, there's one more I wanted to throw out there at you. It turns out that Trump is also reversing a move that was planned to phase out the private prisons, and so looks like private prisons are back.
And he's also pushing for more legislation on marijuana. They want to go against the states that the people voted for. And they need to fill their prisons, so they have to have them at 80 to 90% capacity in order to get the funding to keep them going. So they'll just keep a pot illegal so they can fill the jails with potheads.
It's just so insane. I mean, let's just stop consenting to this crazy stuff.
I know. If we just had enough, right?
Well, I keep suggesting to people that they withdraw consent from this crazy system, and hopefully people will get enough, and enough will do the same. I don't consent to this crazy system.
So Mark, where are you on this so far?
Well, I saw that the other day, and we've had Black Lives Matter here in Toronto, or I'm not in Toronto right now, but in my home city, and we had the G20 protest back in I guess, what was it? I don't know how long ago it was.
Was that?
Was it 210?
Yep.
The G20?
Yeah.
When all the cops they cattled. Right. Oh, did you? Okay. So they cattled people downtown in the downtown core, and the day before there was all kinds of anarchy downtown, and basically they let the protesters in the G20 go crazy so they could show the world that Toronto's, the friendly city's not so friendly anymore. And all these people that were, and they were all wearing the balaclavas, and they had the all head to toe in the black. So I agree with that. If you're going to protest, I was part of a protest and a riot at Queen's Park back in 1996 when Mike Harris had the Harris Ray Days. And that's when we were protesting without cameras in our faces and without little screens and people taking cell phone pictures and that. And the legislature pretty well came down that day. I mean, it was testified at the Legislative House Security Committee because I was the president of the detention center that was down there with part of Ontario Public Service employees, and we were all, we didn't have our faces covered up. So I agree with that aspect of it. The right to protest and to demonstrate legally, that's a right that's been given in both Canada and the United States. So the right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of opposition, those are entrenched in our Canadian Charter of Rights and in the American Constitution. But there's also, there is a only so far you can go. And when you're wearing a balaclava and smashing windows just for the sake of anarchy, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't support that at all either.
Well, here's the thing. Most of the time, it's actually police officers that are doing it.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They need that. They need funding, right, for their police state, and they need public support for their police state as well, don't they?
Yep.
So how are they going to get that done? Well, they're going to create chaos.
That's right.
Order out of chaos.
And it works, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And it totally works. And actually, you know what, Mark? They actually, the Toronto chief of police, actually, they were caught that they did have their own provocateurs. It wasn't at the G20, but it was one after that. And they actually got caught using their own people. So,
well, and all those cases got thrown out, didn't they?
Oh, of course, they investigated themselves and they found no wrongdoing. So
funny how that works, or not so funny.
They cattle kenneled them.
Mark,
Sorry.
I don't mean to change the subject too much. Did you hear about the Parliament bombings? The pair there, the homeless couple. Well, they weren't homeless, but they were a druggy couple.
Yeah, that was It's
the RCMP actually got caught funding and coercing those two. Once the court hearings were all done, they got off on all the charges.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And you know what? They went ahead with Bill C-51 just shortly before or around that same time. Now, didn't they? They actually did. even the Ottawa shooting, the fake shooting. That was all around Bill C-51 as well, which is basically, if anybody doesn't know, it's a security bill. It's a what am I trying to think of?
It's an omnibus. It's an omnibus bill. It's one of those.
Yeah,
ones.
that's the word. It's
got 900 and some odd pages. It's Trudeau said that when he gets in, he's going to take a look at it and change it. But as of present day, that's still entrenched from when Harper was in power. And I like how they called it Bill C-51, and 51's been in our faces for the last number of months with Super Bowl 51, etc. So
yep.
It's one of their numbers.
Well, you know these politicians will tell us that they're going to look into things that we're concerned about, and then they just have phenomenal amnesia when they get, quote, elected, unquote.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm going to fix that for you. What? Did I say anything about? What are you talking about? Every time. Oh, my gosh.
Well, I don't think they realized how sensitive C-51 was going to be with the Canadians in general, because it was definitely loud and clear that we didn't want that bill being rammed down our throats, because we also knew the Patriot Act was sitting there in the background, and we're going, this is Canada's Patriot Act for a fake shooting by Corporal Nathan up there at Parliament Hill. Yeah.
So
absolute joke.
Let me throw this in there. New Being just said that, and New Being just reminded me of something. New Being said Swedish police investigate a riot, predominantly an immigrant Stockholm suburb. You guys remember when Trump got lambasted in the media for saying something happened in Sweden of all places, he says.
Yes.
The media raked him over the coals. Well, guess what? There was some crap going down in Sweden. And,
Yeah,
there is some crap going down in Sweden.
And a couple of days before he mentioned that.
Yeah. He wasn't just talking out of his rear end.
And the media is still completely silent about the whole thing too. That you won't hear about it on the mainstream media because they can't allow Trump to be right. Yeah,
and to be clear, I'm not defending or supporting Trump, but I just want to say that he was right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a couple more headlines for you to get your blood royal in here. Trump calls for new government agency, as if we need any more of those.
Yeah.
Trump calls for a new government agency to handle the victims of immigrant crime.
Voice.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
Voice.
You've heard of that one already?
Yeah, I've seen Trump. It was in Trump's speech. He was creating a new department to handle victims of immigrant crime.
Well, let's see. George Bush came along, and we had two of the largest agencies created out of nothing, right? DHS and TSA. Obama, I don't know. Does anybody know any large or sizable government agencies that were not in existence that Obama created? Because I'm personally not, off the top of my head, I'm not aware of any. But here we have Trump already creating new agencies. So like I said, as if we need any more.
No, Obama's role was to write up all those executive orders to set things up.
Well, he created that task force. Remember, what was it called on the internet? It was there was a name for it. It was Obama Task Force on the internet.
And
the name is just slipping by me. There was a name for it. Oh yeah, YouTube Heroes.
I've never even heard of YouTube Heroes.
Where you can actually flag this, Amy. You can flag other people's videos if you find it misleading or insulting or anything.
Really?
They assign a task force to go around and flag people's videos if they find it untruthful or or hurtful.
Oh dear. Well, I don't know how well that's working at the moment. They've got their trolls to thumb things down.
So we had How I See the World got his channel shut down. Is that correct?
Well, not How I See the World, but How I See Sandy Hook 2 got taken down. And high probability we're dealing with Lenny Posner again.
Yes. Copyright strikes. Yeah.
What slime? What
Lenny got me.
Did he?
Okay.
So,
all right. Here,
about the new department here.
Did
they say what it's going to cost?
Look, I'm not an accountant, but you've heard me say $1 trillion goes a long way, right?
Yep.
Trump calls for $1 trillion for infrastructure.
What kind of
well, I mean, it's good. At least it goes to something.
Well,
at least we're being told it's going for something. highest probability.
How much is the wall going to cost?
How much is the wall going to cost?
Well,
last I heard, he started off with $12 billion, and then it quickly jumped up to $21 billion.
Yeah, it's estimated at around $24 billion, but he'll get it cheaper. But the thing is, they spend over $40 billion a year in illegal immigration costs, sanctuary cities, all the rest of it. So the $42 billion compared to a one-time, let's say he'll get a good deal on it, $18 billion or something. It's worth it, isn't it?
Do you guys remember when Katrina devastated New Orleans?
Yes.
George Bush got $60 billion from Congress. And the last I heard, to this very day, something like 15, maybe 20% of that has actually been spent.
It doesn't surprise me. And I will tell you that anything that they're spending money on goes to companies that they're buddies with. And they will spend a lot more than they would if they just went out and took, decent people to do the work. Guaranteed. Oh, you want me to build a porta potty for you? That'll be $450 million. You know, out of that trillion, that's not that much. I mean, that's basically how it goes.
Okay, so here's another article. You guys probably maybe remember some of the John Rappaport excerpts that I've played on previous shows, particularly on the Zika virus and the false and the fake claims that Zika causes microencephaly. Okay, well, article here says DC lab may be closing due to botched Zika virus testing.
Oh, well.
What does that mean?
It means John Rappaport was 100% correct.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I knew he was. You know, I could see their writing very clearly on the universe. So.
All right, I got two more here, and then we're going to go forward with Max Spiers. Look, you guys know about the DAPL, right? Dakota Oil Pipeline Access Pipeline. Okay, check this out.
DAPL is 33. Just
the gematria. Well, okay, how appropriate. Today is 33 day.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy Apple.
My mom's birthday today.
Apple Day.
It's my mom's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to your
mom.
Wish
her happy birthday.
Yeah.
Right on. Happy birthday, Mom. Okay, so the Dakota Access Pipeline protest, the tally for the cleanup. First of all, there's 750 have been arrested. They're claiming, get this, 24,000 tons of trash. And they're estimating a $1 million cleanup.
What?
What? I think that's exactly.
Now, that's an article from the New American, who I, on average, find them to be fairly reliable. More than most, that is.
Well, I think that they may be reporting what they've been told directly.
I read that article, and in somewhere down, kind of buried, they make mention of several vehicles that were left behind. And you look, when 750 people are arrested, and I'm not saying they're all arrested at once, and the article doesn't say that either. But, at the final, clearing, a lot of people were arrested at the last minute, and a lot of vehicles were left behind. And maybe that's where the 24,000 tons comes from. Because, I mean, and by the way, when you arrest people, all of their shit gets left behind. So
That's true.
It's not like they trashed the place on purpose. They didn't have a chance to clean it up because you hold them to jail.
Yeah, if you haul people to jail.
But the article makes it sound like that these people just trashed the place. 24,000 tons of trash.
Well, yeah, it doesn't take many vehicles to come up to that figure, I'm thinking.
All right, so here's one more, and this is right in line with what we're going to be talking about, because the Max Spiers episode does actually, when you get at the bottom of this hole and this rabbit hole on Max Spiers, it ultimately involves a massive, high-ranking pedophile network. So this Sterling, which is the parent company to both Jared and Kay Jewelers, have you heard of this? There's a huge class action lawsuit for some pretty nasty sexual misconduct.
Really?
Yeah, and now this isn't pedophilia, but it's, it just goes right in line with every other day I see a general or a senator or a congressman or a corporate executive just going down. Like every week there's one. Every week there's one in the news. This guy's charged, this guy's arrested, this guy's accused. Just time and time again, it just doesn't go away. Hey, Ben, we got Omaha Ben.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems a lot of roads lead to Podesta.
You think?
Wow.
Oh, I don't know if you heard about the fact that if you ask on Twitter if, I think it was Brian Podesta,
I heard about that. Terrible Tim got banned from Twitter for asking a question.
So did Titus Frost, by the way. He said he didn't believe it. He saw lots of people talking about it. He says, "Oh, this must be BS." So he asked the question on Twitter, and lo, he was banned for 12 hours for asking a question.
Terrible, Tim?
Huh?
That was Terrible Tim?
That was Titus Frost.
It was Terrible Tim first, and then I guess Titus Frost, he didn't believe it, and so he tried it, and then he got himself banned from as well.
Yep. I almost tweeted the vid about it, but it said the title asked the question, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to tweet it. I'm too chicken. I might get me banned. Then I couldn't tweet about the show here.
Okay, now this is not a new or recent article. It's a little bit older, but the Pope, if you remember, recently, not too long ago, the Pope reduced the penalties for pedophile priests.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
They actually had penalties. They had a penalty department for the Jesuits, did they?
Yeah.
They had a penalty box for the priests, did they?
The penalty box. Time out.
I'm out. Yeah.
So
listen,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm just going to do a quick reversal before we go into the Podesta Spiers. That's all related for sure, 100%. The timing was impeccable. But I want to say that Canada here, we're going to start needing to build our own wall pretty soon, because every day I read the papers, I open up RCBC Global News. We got refugees crossing the border all the time up here in Canada now. We need to build a wall. Maybe we can get some of that $1 trillion. Those U.S. illegal immigrants coming into my country. Damn you, Trump. Damn you.
Well, if you get the Mexicans to build it, it won't cost you half that.
Yeah. We know the handshake with the Mexicans. Apparently, there's a big bully in between us.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
Okay. You had to bring up the Mexican handshake. Hey, Free Beth. How you doing, Mike? We got Mike in the chat. Okay, check this out. And I'm a contractor. I'm a remodeling contractor. On occasion, I will hire those guys who hang out at the Home Depot. And and a quick side story. A friend of mine who used to work at a mechanic shop, he lost his job, and the quickest job he got was at basically it was a Mexican owned and operated mechanic shop here in town. It was a kind of a crummy area of town, and I went to visit him, and I went to use the restroom. In the restroom, I noticed that in the corner of the restroom there was a trash can, and you could barely tell that it was even a trash can, because the pile of, now I'm sorry to be graphic, but there was a pile of shit paper. The trash can was so full that it was spilling over onto the floor so much that it was obscuring the trash can. And that's because in these southern immigrants, Mexicans and Guatemalans and Hondurans, their plumbing is so terrible that they can't even flush toilet paper. Okay, it's pretty typical if you didn't know. And I'm not trying to be racist or gross, but that's freaking nasty. Okay, and I don't know if this is for real, but it's kind of a joke between myself and some friends, that if you've ever shaken the hand, if you've ever met a Mexican, and I'm talking about the kind of Mexican you find standing at the corner at Home Depot who needs a day job. You ever shake his hand, they grab you by the fingertips. They don't really give you a full manly handshake. You know what I mean? They just sort of want to just touch your fingers and then they're done.
Right.
And we joke and we speculate that that's because of this plumbing issue that they have, that it's something unsanitary, that they're just afraid to touch each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. I'm sorry.
E. coli.
Yeah, I can see my comment thread lighting up on that one. So sorry, I don't mean to be putting the Mexicans down. But hey, the truth is the truth. I saw what I saw. That trash can was piled up with shit paper, and that's the way it was. And I'm not making that up. All right, so
they need better gravity down there, because doesn't gravity flush?
Well, yeah, and toilet paper is supposed to dissolve, so I don't know what their problem is.
They're using J-cloth.
I think we should move on.
Let's.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been talking about poops for a while.
All right. So barring a segue here, let's just jump right in. I want to go into Max Spiers. Mark, I know you've done a ton of research on this, and I'm going to let you have the floor, and I've got plenty of things to bring up and several questions. The first thing I want to ask is, are you familiar with that? I've heard that Sean Stone, right, Oliver Stone's son, this is the guy who runs Buzzsaw. Is he or is he not dating Sarah Adams?
Presently?
Well, did he or is he?
Oh, the online rumor mill that he was seeing Sarah. You know what? I'm not gonna substantiate that. You know what? It's, for me, it is what it is. I've talked to a couple of people that are really close to Max, and not once did that come up that they were dating. Although I did receive another message from another person saying that they were. So, you know, it's like, I'm not. Who am I to say? I'm not. You know, Sarah Adams. When we talk about Sarah, I'm surprised how little Sarah has been in the news lately associated with this. The latest Max Spiers update with the BBC. That was my biggest question, one of my biggest questions I had. And without jumping right into the fray, I guess I did, didn't I? But I'm just, where is Sarah? Like, where is Sarah being discussed right now? Has she been quieted? Has she been silenced? That's the question. Well, and whether she was dating Sean Stone or not, who knows?
Okay. I just didn't know if you had any info.
She'll deny it. She'll deny it. But you know what? I when I did go down the rabbit hole, I did go to Sarah's Twitter, of course, because me and her have tweeted with each other, not very amicably, I could say. But she did have Sean as a friend following, and him likewise with her. So that, to me, is a bit of an indicator.
Can I just pop in here? I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah, if somebody has the chat open on my channel, the show on the channel, if anybody on the panel is watching the show in the chat box, make sure that show is muted. Make sure that the video on my channel is muted.
Got it.
Well,
better?
No, you muted Aaron.
Aaron's got to
That's not the goal.
Himself.
Unmute him, yeah.
He's got to unmute him. He's got to unmute him. He's got to unmute. Aaron has to unmute himself.
I don't even know how I got muted.
Well, somebody accidentally hit the mute button.
Okay.
It happens.
Who wants to silence roofuscat?
Well, it's that global.
Maybe Global's fat fingers. How's that sound?
Well, I didn't even know you. I'm the administrator here tonight, so I didn't even know that you had the ability to mute me.
Yeah, we all have the ability to mute each other, it turns out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty powerful.
Unless you're muted by the head honcho, I think you can then just unmute yourself.
Okay.
How's the echo? Is the echo better?
It's gone.
Yeah, much. It's gone.
Cool. Yeah, it's gone. Okay, so let's move forward. So, Mark, one of my first questions, and I think I would like to start chronologically here. You know, everybody describes Max Spiers as a super soldier. Can you give us your best estimate as to what exactly does that mean, and where the hell did this guy even come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. I probably was maybe within the last 2 years, I would say. I came onto my channel in 2014. Yes, first video was 2014. Came in 2013. So around 2014, probably later on, I started to look at Miles Johnson and the Super Soldiers and the bases at the Bard series. And one character intrigued me. Outside of our own here in Canada, we have Donald Marshall. But one character intrigued me, and I watched his, I think it was 7 parts bases, Super Soldiers, with James Casbolt. And that's what got me introduced to Max. And then Max and Sarah as a team. But it was the James Casbolt series that Miles Johnson did on bases. And from there, we were introduced to this other super soldier known as Max Spiers, because James Casbolt had talked about Max, and they did a couple of interviews together. The first one they did was with Project Camelot with Carrie Cassidy, and then Miles picked them up from here. So you'll hear Carrie Cassidy always proudly say that she was the first one to interview Max and James Casbolt together. And Miles took off and ran with it from there. So that's where I was introduced to Max. And then Max intrigued me when James, his character was assassinated, I guess you could say. He ended up in the hooch cow for marrying a Oscar Mayer, even though it wasn't that Oscar Mayer. It was Meyer Groceries in the States, that chain. And I went from there to Max Spiers, and then I really liked this story. And when you look at somebody and you listen to somebody, you can see the pain in their body. You can see the pain in their eyes. And I could just tell that this guy had a good soul, whether he was a shill or, he was a fake media made up. I just felt something resonated with Max, and that's, I think, what's happened across the internet with a lot of people, like, really enjoying what his message was and how he was channeling that. And to answer your question on the Super Soldier is it would be similar to an MK Ultra. They're all programmed mentally. And they've always had a handler that makes sure that they're on the right path, and if they get off to the path that's not desirable, they're triggered with words. And you heard Miles Johnson talk about that recently, and that's truth. Anybody that understands MK Ultra and handlers, and we've seen it before in videos with Katy Perry and her former handler there, the crazy Brit, and Max just resonated with me. And then I started listening to him, and I think I listened to most of his interviews. And his story is, to me, whether he's a super soldier and he can astral plane and whatnot, that's here nor there. I just was impressed with his message, which was the humanity and how the negative energies of the world want our hearts and our positive energy. And Max was conveying that, and that's why we see all these heart symbolisms lately in the last couple of years. You see iHeartRadio and heart this and heart that, and you always see the little glowing heart and iPad goat. And
right.
that's my Max Spiers.
And also Sandy Hook logo has the heart with the kid's one eye with the heart.
The heart is, that was Max's message in the last year. Was about man's heart, and I've discussed that in a few of my videos, and I even made a couple of videos with Max, talking to Miles about man's heart and how they're targeting the man's heart.
So would you say that's a vibrational frequency of the planet is through a sorrowed heart?
Yeah, I truly believe that frequency is a big part of what's going on with our mental state, whether we're in a positive aura or a negative aura. I think it all depends on the frequency, definitely. And the more I look into it, I'm going into a frequency rabbit hole soon, because I'm seeing, you have a drink of coffee and the frequency goes to 68 and you're supposed to be at 55. And it's crazy. And I hear Max was talking about in one of his videos. Max was talking about how he could hear the frequency from the TV. And I'm the same way. And a lot of people that I've been talking to in the last little while, they can hear these little frequency vibes too. And it's strange, but I think the frequency is definitely a big part of the story. chemtrails, everything's connected to frequencies.
So essentially, when they say that he is a quote super soldier, basically what we're talking about is on like sort of on a level of a Jedi. This is more mental. This is not like Captain America where he's super strong and he can, take a punch. I don't know,
No, good. Yeah, exactly. It's more mental, and it's also the visionary. Whether they can jump back and time travel back to Abe Lincoln when he got killed, and Andrew Basaggio and these guys, and Max mentions his time traveling in a little cube, 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds jumping into a cube. A few people talk about that, and if they can jump into the future, that's how they're doing it, and that's part of being the super soldier.
So how much stock do you put into those stories? Time travel, astral plane, being able to access the astral plane, and I mean, how much stock do you really put into those stories?
You know what? It's, to me, you always have to mention, it sounds like it's science fiction. It totally is, but it's science fiction, but it's factual fiction, because I truly believe they can jump into another dimension, and that's why we're all being held back here in the 3rd dimension. So they can go into the 4th and the 5th. And Max talked about it. He talked about having to go into the astral plane and the Michael Aquino scenario, which is a big part of this conspiracy. What did you say, Amy? What is it? Conspiracy what?
Analyst.
Being a conspiracy analyst.
Conspiracy analyst.
Great word.
I always have a problem, with Project Camelot and things like that, because it's just one guy who's giving an account of something, and you basically have to take his word for it, right? You have to take it at face value, right? That he's telling you the truth. And that's the problems I have with a lot of these people that are on that show, right?
Right.
Being interviewed by Kerry Castle.
Is Jordan? I don't see the chat room. Is Jordan still over there?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, he's still here. Yeah.
Okay, good. Jordan. Yeah, I love Jordan. He's deadly quiet, but when he zings, he zings it. Jordan said to me probably a year and a half ago. I think I was doing a Max. I was doing
We got a bad
Cameron Fowley.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark, but we got a bad echo right now. I'm not sure if there's any. I think it's on your end. It's only when you talk.
Well, I don't know when I
too high, maybe.
Actually, I heard it from Amy a second ago. It could be just
when I was watching while Mark was talking, I kept seeing Ian's icon light up a little bit and pop up a little bit.
Okay.
During the
maybe Ian's the source of the echo.
I'm thinking perhaps.
I'm staying away from my mic. I'm away from my mic.
Okay, sorry I know you got derailed, but try to get back on track there.
It's still echoing?
Yeah.
No, not badly.
I don't see levels. Levels are good.
Not now. We're good.
Okay.
Sorry,
good.
Mark. Try to get back on track there.
It's okay. Yeah, Cameron Fowley, we're talking about time traveling, and Cameron Fowley was talking about Black Star and David Bowie and Nibiru coming in, and I did a video on that 3 weeks before Bowie died, and I think Jordan came in and he says, every time you mention, Project Camelot, you get smoked, right? So I have to be prepared if I mention them or show a clip. I'll take the bullet. So Jordan was funny because you said Project Camelot's a bunch of jokers, blah blah blah, and that was 2 years ago, right? So I think that if you keep seeing it and hearing it, and I've got like two ladies that have communicated with me, and they're talking about what was going on in the astral plane, and I, he's being taken out all the time, and whether he was being taken out in another dimension, he was what we witnessed on that last tape was Max was basically getting taken out and snuffed. So there is an actual, there's another dimension, there's another universe for sure. We're stuck in the third dimension with our 2 DNA strands, and we get 3 and 4, maybe we'll start to see the light, which I think we are, because there is a positive energy that's going around.
I think you're right.
Whether you like Trump or not.
Okay, so this let's see. I'm going to try not to leap back and forward like I often do when I have pages and pages of notes. I really want to try to get through this as chronologically as possible. So when exactly do you know of that? When did Max first splash on the scene?
If you look at he came onto the scene in 2014. 2015, he was with Barges.
2014. That's 3 years ago.
He was in Nevada when he first came out. He did a conference in Nevada in 2014.
Okay. I did a little digging and I tried to get my hands on the oldest interview that I could find, which happened to be 3 years old. One of the interviews, he described having several years of radio interview before he ever went on camera. And I'm sorry, I didn't jot down which interview specifically for you to go and reference, but he did describe having been interviewed many, many times for several years, 2 or 3 years, before he ever was interviewed on camera or did any conferences.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I didn't go back and dig into his history in social media and whatnot. To me, when Casbolt was talking about him, and then when you heard Max's story about how he was pretty well a child protege to this to the whole beginning of his little Super Soldier tour, I guess you could say, as a young kid who was taken away and sent to Nelson, British Columbia, in a U.S. military camp there, and that's where he began his tutelage as a young super soldier. I don't know how long he was working behind the scenes with the government, but when you dig into it, he has a lot of connections with a lot of people. Orlando Bloom, his mom and dad were pretty high up in the community. She was a Wiccan trained. His father knew James Casbolt's father. So there was some history there between the Casbolts and Max. But I didn't look into his past on when he was doing radio interviews and whatnot. I kind of picked it up when I started watching him on bases. And that's where I began my Max Spiers history.
Okay. So, in your video, there's an article by George Knowles. I think it's and actually I wrote this one down. It's at the 20-minute and 44-second mark in your video that Michael Aquino, which is general at the Presidio military base, was born on October 16th. Max's death was July 16th, and you made excellent observation that the mainstream media went public with sort of a viral story. They went, and it was literally a frenzy, because I'm reading the comments, and some people are saying, look, I heard on Toronto radio, and I think I read this in your comment section, and by the way, your commenters are some of the best.
Yeah, they're awesome people.
Your comment section is brilliant. Somebody said that they heard the story of Max's death on a major Toronto radio station that had something like 500,000 listeners. And so you make the connection that it was Michael Aquino's birthday was literally October 16th when the story went viral, right?
Yes.
3 months after his death.
Right. So I've got Aquino was born in San Francisco on the 16th of October, 1946. His father, Michael Aquino Sr., had been a sergeant in Patton's Third Army during World War II, and serving with distinction was decorated with a Purple Heart for wounds received during combat. His mother, Marion Doherty Elizabeth Ford, affectionately known as Betty Ford, was a child protege, and I just spoke about Max being a child protege. After only 3 years of early formal education, and at the age of just 14 years old, she was enrolled at one of the youngest students ever admitted to Stanford University. 3 years later, she was honored with a degree as the youngest ever to receive such an honor. Michael Aquino was raised and his early education, and we can put that link up. But you can see that Michael Aquino was, he's somebody. This guy is somebody. And it happened 3 months after Max's death was not mainstream. It went mainstream on October 16th, 3 months after he was actually pronounced dead in a Polish apartment. And that's when I said, come on here, you know, these guys, the numbers just don't lie, right?
Yeah, really.
And I mean, that to me is like, wow, that was a birthday. I mean, you saw the video. If you see the video, I say at the end, happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah. I thought that was a brilliant connection you made there.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And, you know, certain things, eyes wide open, right? And the first thing that popped in my head was when I looked up Aquino. I went, wow, this guy's birthday is October 16th, 1946. And the year of 1946 is very substantial with U.S. Leadership, because I'm sure everyone in the chat room knows that the year of 1946, outside of Mr. Michael A. Aquino being born, was Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Mr. Donald Trump were all born in 1946. So there's another one for you. That's a 4-pack.
Yes, okay, so it is.
Go ahead. Yeah. So I'm making link to that one in the upcoming video about Max here, because you know there's more symbolism coming up. I mean, if you saw my little trailer to us coming on today, that one I just finished. I'm watching all these old friggin' movies right now. It's funny, like it's like one thing's being led to another. I watched Monsters Incorporated because I wanted to see the symbolism 2 months after 9/11, and then Max is talking about when they're going astroplaning and they're going to another dimension in this little cube vehicle, whatever it is. They walk through a door and the door closes and they feel nothing but ecstasy. And that's when they're on their mission. And it's just like in Monsters Incorporated. It was like, I said, wow. I go, that's Max going through that door. That's why I'm saying this door opened and then it closed. So surreal.
All right, you guys can see my screen as I share while you're talking there. I don't normally like to do ad hominem attacks on people's appearances, but I mean, this guy is one creepy looking dude. And if you notice how he combs his eyebrows, that is not a normal eyebrow. He makes quite an effort to make his eyebrows do that.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning to you in our pre-chat discussion before we went live that Sean Stone actually interviewed Michael Aquino, and even in his old age, sitting in his office doing this interview with Sean Stone, his eyebrows are still doing this curly Q. It's like the old timey biker guys, and some of them still do. You know, they twirl their mustaches and they put a little gel and they cream it and they spin the mustache hair and curl it up. This guy is making quite an effort to make his eyebrows look like little devil horns, and like I said, I don't normally appreciate attacks on people's appearance, but this guy is one creepy looking dude.
I agree.
Now, when you go on to if you look at his Wikipedia, even the Wikipedia, the one that he's got his military, his military garb on, he's got the rolled up. Looks like he's waxed the darn things like it's a mustachio on his eyebrows to give us the little Baphomet horns. And like we were talking about earlier too, Douglas Dietrich, he'll talk about Aquino. He's not gonna say that he had anything to do with Max's death, other than that he knew Max and Max knew him. And Dietrich knows that Michael Aquino is not the nicest guy in the world.
I think that's an understatement, dear.
Well, I'm a little bit worried about... Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Everything leads to Rome. Everything leads to the Vatican.
How many times have we said that around here?
Oh, at least
I say it every day.
Yep.
Dorothy followed the yellow brick road. That yellow brick road leads to the Vatican, the Rome.
Yep.
That's where everything's coming from. This is all about pedophilia. You can talk about that base that he worked at in San Francisco Bay Area.
Presidio.
Yep, Presidio. That's what got a lot of people in trouble, because we're talking about the fall guys, right? He wasn't a fall guy. Sammy Davis Jr.
Look at those eyebrows.
That's the shot there, yeah.
That's just creepy as hell.
And there he is hanging out with Anton LaVey.
Right. So a disciple.
Satanist with military garb. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Now,
okay, so
you can
go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can. We'll probably discuss. I mean, I'm discussing it in my in the next video. I think in my comment section, in my description, I said please read the description, because I talked about in the description. I'm saying that this is this BBC. It looks like it was staged, fixed to make Spiers look like he's just a raging druggie, heroin user, but the BBC was so close to the Michael Aquino, Max speaking about Michael Aquino meeting him in the astral plane, and they stopped it. And they never mentioned Michael Aquino in their little four segment documentary, their 35-minute special there. And they should have, because he did talk about he was going to face Aquino head to head in the next plane.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, he did. He did say that he was anticipating a showdown.
Yeah, he did say showdown.
Yep.
And it's interesting because he could have been having it that week. Pedo rings, mind control.
All right, I'm while we're chatting here. Go ahead. I'm just looking for this particular article, because I must have wrote down
which one you're looking for.
The wrong. I must have wrote down the wrong time stamp in your video where you show the article of Michael Aquino being accused, and the title and something in the article title said something about Satanist runs military base and top brass says it's okay. There's nothing wrong. So I'm looking for that article in particular.
Did I?
The one where he looks like Eddie Munster. The picture, the young Aquino.
Yeah, that got it for you. I'll give it to you. Yeah, it's there. There you go.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to just do a screen share, I was just trying to, bring up some visuals while you're talking.
Well, I'm talking to you on Firefox, and I got Chrome over here on the left. So
okay. Well,
I can't screen share it on this one. I can bring it back over though.
Oh, okay. You dropped the link there. I
just put the link there. There you go. There.
I got it.
That's the one. That's the one that's in my video.
I got it.
I had it open already. Yeah, and the military knew that he's practicing Satanism, and he's one of the big dogs.
I was listening
given war, I can see how the military would think that's perfectly
100%,
okay.
Amy.
I think war is satanic.
Yeah, damn right it is.
You
got to feed off the dead, right? You got to have that energy level for the.
Yep.
The bloodsuckers like the energy, right?
You're willing and you're unwilling sacrifices.
Yeah. God bless the troops that have no clue. We're talking about here. We got the heroes, highway heroes, okay, across Ontario, and I'm right on the highway heroes. I'm close to it. I'm in the middle of it, and my brother-in-law talks about how we've got all these people lined up over the bridges with the Canadian flags whenever a dead soldier comes back, especially with Nathan Sorello, the Ottawa, the terrorist corporal that got shot down. Yeah, okay. Anyway, the Highway of Heroes is probably one of the best energy suckers that they have here in Canada. When a hero goes by, a soldier goes by, all that energy that people are giving to that guy, the guys like Aquino, they just love it. That's my opinion.
So I was listening to Douglas Dietrich talk about Aquino and Presidio Base. And not only did Dietrich, on many occasions he said he worked directly underneath Aquino, but during this pedophilia investigation, Dietrich was actually partly responsible for providing a cover story saying that Aquino was not on base during these assaults and abuses that were levied against him. And further, he went on to say that several of the children that had signs of anal damage and vaginal damage and injury, basically showing the signs of a sexual abuse, that he said that they drove these kids from the base, and I forget where the location was, maybe the police precinct or something. I honestly don't remember, maybe the hospital. But he said they drove past Aquino's house, and the kids were individually able to identify that house. And they were saying, yeah, that's the house. That's where we were taken. And there's a black room that's all completely, totally painted in black. And that Aquino was, he was there with someone else, and I don't remember the name, but they were actually dressed in women's clothing, and that the kids were forced to consume feces, rub feces on themselves. They were abused in various horrific ways. And further, Dietrich said in this interview that during the inquiry that Aquino and some of the other people indicted were acquitted by none other than Donald Rumsfeld.
Gee, what a surprise. Not.
Yeah, I heard that as well. Were you where did you see Dietrich on that interview? Was he on Leak Project?
No, that was with Sean Stone on BuzzFeed.
Oh, it was, eh? Mm-hmm. Oh, it was, eh? So he was on there for what, 30, 35 minutes? Because that guy goes off. He
didn't do that this time. He usually talks at 80 miles a minute, and he didn't do that. He was a little more calm and slow speaking on this particular interview. And it was Sean Stone interviewing Dietrich. Because I was just doing a search because I remember Dietrich listening to him previously, and I remember him speaking about Aquino and Presidio Base on previous interviews before I really got digging deep into Max Spiers. And on Max Spiers' very last interview, where he's all drugged up, he said he was asked about Presidio, and he said that you should probably want to talk to Douglas Dietrich. He knows more about Aquino and the Presidio Base.
Yes. He was one of the I guess he was a librarian on the base. He was a research analyst librarian. So if you listen to Dietrich's story, which you have, he does talk about having access to some pretty high profile files while he was working at that base. But he also knows what was going on behind the scenes because he's a survivor himself, right?
Dietrich is a survivor?
Yeah, Dietrich's a survivor, yeah.
Oh, I actually wasn't aware of that.
If you hear Dietrich talks about his story, he's not even operating on, he's operating on plasma. He's not even working. His body, he talks about having his body drained of all its blood and how he's walking around with a manufactured blood product. He's got a strange story, but he's a survivor. He was part of the whole programming as well, Dietrich. That's why, he is what he is. He's a different character, but I think he's special in a lot of ways, Dietrich. I believe he's got an aura about him. But sometimes it's like, wow, he just goes off on a tangent, and you just, okay, I'll have to analyze and rewind that one. But his story about Aquino is 100% true. You have to remember, he also said that when they threw Max, and we all know about the trampoline scene, when they threw Max on the trampoline, Dietrich is saying that that was basically showing the powers that be that were hunting for his soul, that he was healthy enough to get on that trampoline. And Dietrich talks about how, he was being auctioned off. His soul was being auctioned off.
That's what Miles Johnson has a lot to say about. And despite what some people think about Project Camelot, the interview with Miles Johnson on Project Camelot, several times he says a few things that I caught my ear and raised some red flags with me, and apparently raised them with Carrie Cassidy as well. She usually doesn't take bullshit. I saw her give Mike Barra hell one time. And, when somebody spouts something that she knows to be false, she's not going to let it go, and she'll cut you off. But anyway, Miles Johnson was saying, well, first of all, Carrie asked about the occult aspect, and immediately Miles Johnson said, wait, let's get way away from that subject. This is about the weaponization of the afterlife, and that they were ransoming off Max Spiers' soul. Okay.
Right.
Now, Amy and I and Ian last night, we had a chat in preparation for this evening, and I brought this up to them, and it struck me interesting the way Miles cut off Carrie and away from the cult satanic pedophile aspect into the realm of what would be considered foo-foo, virtually impossible to prove, right? Now, despite what all of us may or may not think about the afterlife and the soul and ransoming and the ability to do that, despite what we think about that, it's absolutely 100% unprovable. And what I feel is, provable, something that we can work on and do and make a difference, is this people who are alive today and on the ground and abusing children. So to me, that was a big red flag for Miles to shift the conversation away from what is very real, the abuse and trafficking of children, to horrific ends. This could be something actually done about it, to a realm where it's so far out there that's just, you just have to believe it and nothing can ever be done about it, or disbelieve it and still nothing gets done about it.
Right.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. You can discuss the science fiction aspect of the death of Max Spiers. You can discuss the reason why he was taken out, but there has to be a medium as to the discussion. And for him to go total sci-fi into they were fighting for Max's soul, well, you know what? The average person's going to go, what the heck are you talking about? And then you're going to call you a conspiracy nut. And I think we've all seen the comments in the last few days, not only on Miles, but just on even, our channel sharing this, talking about Miles being like totally aloof. You know what? Is that what they want to do? They want to divert? Of course, it's diversionary. Are they using Miles? Probably. Why would they? You mentioned it to me earlier in your comment on this video post about the show tonight. You said that Miles, he's just leading us off the beaten path. And the whole story goes back to October 8th. If you look at October 8th, you open up the WikiLeaks Podesta files, and that's when it all began. And then 8 days later, October 16th, it went AI, artificial intelligence, sent it out through Reuters and Associated Press, and all of the mainstream news talked about conspiracy theorist Max Spiers, UFO specialist, dead. And we went, huh? And then when you looked at the stories, none of the stories had a date attached to it. There was only one, I think it was Independent UK, had a date affiliated with the death. Otherwise, it just said he's dead. They didn't say he died July 16th. They said he died. It looked like he died yesterday, according to that blitz, okay? But it was also because the Podesta emails had already been leaked. Hillary's campaign was making noise about UFO disclosure. Podesta's email shows that he was talking with Edgar Mitchell. He wanted to meet with Edgar Mitchell in an email from April 29th, 2014. Mitchell dies February 3rd, 2016, and that discussion ends right there. Max Spiers' name pops up in the emails, as does another Turkish UFOologist specialist. He ends up dead. Max ends up dead. And it started on October 8th when the UFO files with WikiLeaks, Podesta started out. And then the chase was on. And all of a sudden, I remember the time frame because I did a video on October 25th on Judge Scalia, my most watched video. We're talking about views. That's my most watched video on YouTube. And I'm glad it is because it's about the whole pedophilia, the government, Prince Andrew. And that was the beginning. And then October 30th, 5 days later, boom, it was viral about Pizzagate and everything else. And we could actually see it happening. And the Podesta chase, that was the beginning of it. Get us all crazy conspiracy theorists, UFOologists, and then all of a sudden Pizzagate hits and we're diverted again. And that's the way I saw it happening. October 8th, 8 days before the birthday present of Michael Aquino, they led us into the Max Spiers UFO conspiracist. And then now we've got, is he fighting Aquino in the astral plane, or is he in his mother's womb being manipulated to become a super soldier at age 4 and 5 in Nelson, BC, next door to the pig farms of the Picton Pig Farms, where they were making snuff films for years and years and years. And that's another story altogether. Let's go to the Eagle Danger for that one.
Yeah,
you can see where the rabbit hole is. It's deep.
Be wary of any man who keeps pigs.
Yeah, I think.
That's a famous line.
Especially, good one. I love it. Especially a millionaire farmer.
Oh,
the RCP were actually running that whole operation.
Well, if you've ever seen the movie, the Brad Pitt movie, Snatch.
Yes.
Okay, the character Bricktop, he says, be wary of any man who keeps pigs. He's talking about these guys trying to get rid of a dead body. He says, be wary of any man who keeps pigs. They can go through bone like butter. He goes, this is whole scene where he describes each pig can consume 2 pounds of uncooked flesh every minute, blah, 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 blah. This whole scene about how to get rid of a body.
Yep.
Wow. There was lots of bodies being getting rid of up there in Picton.
Wow.
Just by, no
so kidding, right? See, when you
the
mentioned the pig farm near there, I went, oh my God. Because
you go.
That's, wow.
Plus you had the machinery there to disseminate,
to slaughter pigs.
Body.
And to render,
prostitutes from South Vancouver, whatever you want.
From East Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay,
East Vancouver. I'm sorry, South Vancouver.
Yeah, East Van's like the worst. Well, one of the worst places to live in Canada.
Yeah. All right, so back to Miles Johnson. Miles makes several assertions in his interview with Kerry Cassidy. He says that Max died and was reanimated. Obviously, that's probably speculation. There's certainly no proof of any of that, and it puts Miles in the realm of a very fringy, conspiracy-minded person. The other assertion that he made, which was incorrect, he said that during Max's last interview, Miles said that Max left his body repeatedly. Now, I remember specifically Max saying that he disassociated during that interview. When they came back and tried to interview him again, Max, once he was cognizant again, he said, I think I disassociated for a minute.
Yeah, he said he left his body, right?
I don't remember him saying he left his body. I remember him specifically saying he disassociated. Now, I know that word specifically.
He said it.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, I mean, having done some research into trauma-based mind control, I know that disassociation is a major key. It's something that they look for. when they're beating the crap out of you and torturing you. They wait for your eyes to flutter in a certain way, and they know that your brain is disassociated.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, it's a good point. If you recall in the third video, that's another question that I raised in an earlier video, and I'm going to raise it again in the next video that's under construction. They filmed Max the day 1 and day 2 in Poland, and then day 3, the day of the trampoline jump. They didn't film him, and the interviewer Alex comes on and says. Comes on and says, "Sorry."
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Alex comes on and says, he comes on and says, "Oh, we don't have a good spot to film Max today, so Max is on audio." But then we heard, and you were talking about firecracker and whatnot in the background. If you listen to it, you can hear smacks and like banging on the table, and I think even Miles Johnson was talking about that. Sounds like they were maybe tuning him up, to wake him up or whatever they were doing to him. He was under some serious influence, but we could hear that. And that's another question that BBC never raised, was why was he filmed on the trampoline, but they didn't have a right spot to film him doing the interview like they did the day before in the flower garden? That was another question.
Okay. So you just said that when he was filmed on the trampoline, that was basically day 3.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't know that, and they didn't make that clear in the video. In fact, in that video, they made it sound like that was all one. They just took a short break and then they came back. They made it sound like that. They didn't make it clear at all that this is the following day or this is 2 days later. All right. So
do you remember the interviewer said? He says after 30 minutes, Max, we take a break. Max goes on the trampoline, and then we do the interview again. That's when he pretty well said that it was day 3. So that's why I questioned why the heck did they have the camera on him on the trampoline?
Yeah, well, I mean, if they had a decent camera to film him on the trampoline, then they certainly could have filmed him sitting and talking.
Yeah, but he was obviously not coherent, was he?
Okay, because I was confused. I thought that they took a break or two and let him, I don't know, get some coffee or a nap, and it was all 1 day worth of interview. And I was confused, and I was about to bring up a point that he was wearing different clothing when he was on the trampoline. So, okay.
Right. Yeah, because he took a break. They said he was off, but he was gone for a few hours and he came back.
Okay.
7/7, is that correct?
What, Ian?
He died on 7/7, is that correct?
16.
July 16th.
7/16. Another 16. I see 16.
So actually, 1 + 6 is 7, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's always reduced.
And then October.
So speaking of numerology, did you see any numerology patterns in this story of Max?
Max mentioned 93, that his address was 93, right? And then all of a sudden I flipped it and I saw 39, and then I haven't looked into the gematria of this very much at all, because obviously the story is, to me, the story is the conspiracy of what the heck happened to him that day, and why did it take the authorities so long to do anything, and the phone and the bathtub and just all the little sidebar stories. So I didn't look into the gematria of this one. Normally when I see like a plane going down or the shootings, I'll look at the numbers right away. But for this one, once I dang it that it was 8/16, or it was the 10th month after the 7th month on the 16th day, that to me solidified that it was something by the numbers for sure. So those are the only numbers I looked at. 3 months to the day, they gave Aquino a birthday party.
Just so you know, I just ran 16, and in reduced it's 33, in ordinal it's 96, but in reverse ordinal it's 93.
There you go.
And in reverse reduced it's 39.
Right. So there is a connection. There is some numerology involved too.
Oh, and Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, and in English, this is interesting. We have the speed of Saturn. It's 969.
That's right.
Max
and
one of
it's
Max's,
Gaga. It's also Lady Gaga, 16 Gaga.
In one of Max's conferences, he discusses the number 93 as being a very important number, having something to do with the distance to the sun being 93 million miles away.
Right.
Well, 93 is the number for Saturn.
And Flight 93.
That's right. We had Flight 93. That's correct. And in 1993, right? Wasn't it 1993? We had the World Trade Center attack in the basement.
Yep. And if you take the two flights that hit the two towers and add them together and divide by 2, you come up with 93.
Interesting.
Yes. It's very interesting.
Okay, so Miles, again, I want to finish going back to Miles and the Kerry Cassidy interview, where Miles goes out of his way to stress that BBC interviewed him on this subject, and he really makes a point. He really goes out of his way to stress that he's like, look, why would they have me on talking about this subject? He said the BBC does not make these kind of mistakes. They don't air this kind of stuff. He says they put this out there on purpose. They allowed me to talk about weaponizing the afterlife and all this, wacky stuff. I'm paraphrasing. And my immediate thought was, well, and it's like the comment that I left you on your channel. My thought was, well, he's a discredited, admittedly fired BBC employee, and he admitted that he had been fired for basically pirating a signal onto one of their broadcasts. So he was lucky he wasn't brought up on charges, I understand. He was fired. So why would the BBC have Miles on in an interview where he's talking about all this outlandish fringe type stuff about ransoming souls and weaponizing the afterlife, which makes him sound like the craziest conspiracy theorist ever? And the point that I made to you in the comment was to basically discredit any further inquiry into the subject.
Yep. Well, and here's my thought. He had how am I going to say this? Let me work on how I'm going to say it. Continue.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it out. It'll happen.
Okay, so did anyone? I was sent. I do. Richie Allen, I pay attention to.
I love Richie Allen.
Say what you want. Yeah, say what you want. He's got his own gig going now. I don't know if he's still part of the Ike Network. Yeah, because he just made an announcement there a while ago. And anyway, he had a second interview with Vanessa Bates. I guess on the first,
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
So I listened to that for homework today. Like I watched the BBC docs as well, and he mentions Miles with the interview with Vanessa as well, and he pretty well called it a joke that BBC had Miles on, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, former employee, to sell disinformation. But right away, when Miles opened up and he started about Max was a partier and a drinker and yada, yada, he basically, like I said in comment sections, he threw Max under the bus right off the bat with BBC. But Richie did have a good point today with Vanessa, or the other day. He said that the reporter, the BBC, the young reporter who Miles had gone out of his way to say was great, yada, yada, whatever words he used. I have them written down. I've used them. But Richie said that she was kind of rolling her eyes, at the camera while he was talking. So she was already making fun and light of Johnson going off like he was in the BBC interview. And I thought the same thing too. But if you saw my comments after that, I watched that, I said, "Holy cow, Miles Johnson! That was hard to watch."
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that his gig is up. You know what? I haven't been giving him. I use his channel because I need the content because he's done them all. And you know what? I'll give him credit for that. But I think his gig's up. He's looking for the next meal ticket because that's not cool what he did after he used Max Spiers like that. If Max has really gone to heaven, gone to face the music and see how many pluses and minuses he's got, you know, Miles, you didn't do him any justice. That's my.
No kidding. No kidding. In fact, not only did Carrie Cassidy call out Miles at least 2, I think 3 times during her interview for some nonsense that he was trying to peddle, but God, I'm sorry, I've got so much in my head right now. The girlfriend, the ex.
Adams.
Sarah, sorry. Sarah Adams,
Yeah.
she jumped on the show and she laid into Miles for all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. She was furious, calling him a liar about this and a liar about that. And, you know, basically after I watched the Carrie Cassidy interview, I was done with Miles Johnson. I was pretty convinced that this guy is disinfo, that this guy is some sort of controlled op. Even though Miles is responsible for organizing these conferences and whatever he's doing for, you know, what we call the truth community, I think this guy is a plant. I think he's a liar. I think he might be involved. I don't know his role, but I don't think that he is on the up and up in any way.
My thought here is that, I mean, didn't you say he's lucky he wasn't brought up on charges?
Well, yeah, he admitted actually pirating a signal.
Pirating.
Do you suppose they cut him a deal?
See, we keep Amy around for a reason.
Yes.
You know,
You
he
know,
knows the handshake.
we won't charge you if you do this.
Oh, yeah.
You bet.
Amy, you're conspiracy overanalyzing again.
I know. I'm horrible at that, aren't I?
Extreme.
Okay. Enough about Miles Johnson, unless anybody else has something to add. I want to move forward.
I'll just comment on what you just said there about the dust up between him and Sarah. Look at the time frame of that dust up, okay? So that was July 23rd was when Project Camelot and Miles went live, and that video did very well for Project Camelot, and it talked about they're talking about the death of Max and what happened with the phone calls and this and that, and Sarah Adams came on there and just laid into him, and I think I put that clip is in my in the second video, the longer video. Yeah. So it was July 23rd, and then guess what was coming up? The conference was coming up on August 15th. Did Sarah act like she was all mad at Miles at that conference? That's my question. No. They were friends again because she showed up at the conference that Max was supposed to be at, that he was plugging on his Facebook page. And he wasn't there. He was dead. She showed up.
Well, the story about Max wanting to protect Sarah and not wanting to have her involved, if I'm not mistaken, that entire story comes from Miles Johnson. And Sarah called him out and said that's bullshit. That
Yes.
Max had spoke to her sister, her younger sister, and said he wanted her involved, and so that Sarah was furious.
Yes, and she called him out on it because Miles did say that Max said that he didn't want, and he wouldn't tell why. If you recall, he said, I can't say. Well, basically, he was saying that he didn't want her there.
Yeah, I think it was
If
Miles
you read
that didn't
between
want
the
her
lines.
there because she had more than he wanted out.
Yes, and also Max was being pressured by Miles to come up with new information, and that's why Sarah and Max were wanting to be still a tandem on stage, but in the end, Miles wanted Max to go solo. That's what I read into that. Okay.
Okay. Well, how about we take a break? It's been an hour and a half. Let's take a, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minute break. And Ian and I had discussed playing an excerpt from Max's last interview where he's sounding, rather sloshy in his voice. And I didn't really have enough time to find the best section. So basically, I just jumped forward to 55 minutes and 48 seconds. And that's maybe almost 75% into this interview, just to give folks an idea of what Max was sounding like. He sounded like he was maybe on some drugs or perhaps drunk or something. He did not sound like he was, calm and collected. He sounded like he certainly had some issues. So what we'll do is we'll take a break here, and I'm going to play just a couple of minutes, and we'll be back in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to tell you?
This can't bury is about whom? About the Queen?
No.
So, about whom? Okay, break.
Okay.
Henry VIII. Who was he?
Okay. Henry VIII wanted to stop didn't want the Catholic Church to take over the United Kingdom. He wanted to keep the Church of England as the dominant religious.
Separate.
Yeah, and fought to keep.
He wanted to be independent from Vatican.
Yes, completely. So he was constantly at war with that bloodline.
Yes.
If you could just forget the fact that it's the Vatican and Henry VIII, it was 2 bloodlines at war.
Mm-hmm.
Henry, the Vatican is not a Merovingian line, and Henry is a Merovingian line. So there was 2 bloodlines fighting.
Yeah, but when he was dying, still he turned back to the Vatican, and since then on,
the Church of England rules England, not Catholic Church.
So why the Queen, the current Queen of England, kind of pays homage to?
Pays homage. I mean, in what respect? They now don't because the New World Order. They've all of the old infighting lines have now come together to make the New World Order happen. So there's no more. I mean, it may seem like there's still infighting.
So you mean that the War of Roses is over or not over?
No, not over. No, not really. No.
So how is it now?
That would be essentially who would they agree on the agenda that they want the 500 million and the elite hierarchical structure.
Yes.
But who is at the top of there? The white rose or the red rose is still at war.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
So
I would personally be behind the red rose. The red rose.
The name of the roses are Lancaster and
York.
So York, like the
York,
masonry from York.
Right. Well.
And
within all of the secret societies, there's good, and there's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like within the York Rite, there are people who want humanity to be free and don't want.
Really?
Yeah.
In the proportions, How many percent?
Very, 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 very small percentage within the York right that want humanity to be free.
Yesterday you came back from Cyprus. What happened there? You were a few days there and you recorded some interview.
Yes, yeah.
It was on 7/7.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Probably the most significant date to date outside of the 9/11 date. Yeah. First of all, 7/7 is there's a book by Crowley called 777, and you can read the book, and you can get some Kabbalistic information. But if you put a mirror down the center diagonally of each page, you get 10 times more information than if you didn't. It's a double encoded book.
Okay, you gave the interview, but
okay, I'm going to stop it right there because that last loud crack that we just heard, and hopefully all of my panel members are back and waiting. We discussed the sound effects in the background as being potentially a fire crackling. I'm pretty certain that last noise that was just heard a moment ago, right before I paused that video, that was not a fire. That sounded like...
That was definitely something like being dropped or wood cracking or something.
There's no way that sound came from a fire.
No, that was not fire. No way.
I don't know. It's really annoying, though. It totally takes away from the whole interview.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been noted to be that. When they posted that, when that Polish station posted that, I watched it right away, like when it came out, and I went, oh my God, this is not good. And I went and they comment, and they had live comments. You could give them a comment on their channel, and then all of a sudden, I guess were getting inundated. You know, as it went up 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, it was getting hits. And they shut the chats off, and then they said, if you want to comment, you'll have to come to our webpage. So that Polish TV station that did the interview with them. So I went over there, and everything was in Polish, of course, but there were some English comments in there. And there was an excellent English comment in there, and I backed that one up with a comment myself. And it basically said, what the hell were you guys doing to Max while he was being interviewed? Those sounds, sounded like you guys were laying a beating on him. And I went right on, bravo, because that's exactly what I heard. The whole interview was very, very disturbing.
I agree. It was very disturbing. He did not sound particularly lucid. He sounded drugged.
That wasn't Max Spiers. That wasn't the Max Spiers that we know. The ones that know Max from his interviews. And that's what you're living with. You're living with the fact that you got Miles Johnson jumping on the wagon now that he's, he was all heroined out, and he was drinking like a fiend every time he saw him. He was drinking, and then his mom saying that he was clean for 3 months while he was living with her. And
right.
Who knows? I mean, anybody that's a MyLab or an MK Ultra, that's half of the. Look at all these Amanda Bynes. Look at Britney Spears. Look at them. They're all controlled through drugs. God damn right.
Yeah, no kidding. So let me ask you guys this. Everybody on the panel, feel free to answer. Just a quick question, yes or no. Have you seen the movie? I think this is a late 70s or early 80s movie. It's called Altered States.
Yeah, it was a really long time ago. Wasn't that when they shocked them or something?
No, it had to do with the sensory deprivation tanks.
Right. I think I might have seen that, but oh my gosh, it's been so long ago. And
okay,
yeah,
okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Harrison Ford, Altered States. What was it?
I don't remember.
Who was the star in that?
I honestly don't remember who starred in it. I haven't seen it in forever, but I remember.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm on I told you earlier, I'm on a binge of watching old movies, and I've commented on that. And I went down to the library in the cabin here, and I went through and I picked Altered States out, and I brought it up to the TV room. So it's on my next things of list to do of watching.
Okay.
However, I remember seeing it, but that's a long time ago, and I know it's all about the brain and mind control.
Okay, good. Okay.
William Hurt. William Hurt.
Yes,
William Hurt. That's right.
Okay.
I was going to see Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
All right, Mark, put that
William
on the top of your list and make sure you watch it before you finish your next
I will.
And the reason I bring it up, there's a good reason I'm bringing this up.
Excellent.
I'm not proud to say it, but I'm a fan of the South Park adult cartoon series, okay? Now, South Park has an episode where the character Eric Cartman has he wants to kill his mom. He sneaks into her bedroom. He's got a knife, and he has an episode where basically South Park, they spoof the movie Altered States, and so Cartman goes through that episode where that big scene where the guy, his face sort of I don't even know how to describe it without showing it to you. It's sort of an extension sort of pops out of his head, and he's talking to himself. And then he starts banging himself against the wall because he's trying to bring himself back into whatever reality. Okay. South Park spoofed that scene. And in the end of that scene, Cartman winds up on the floor throwing up black goo. Now, the reason I bring this up is because, if I remember correctly, that happened exactly in the movie. He vomits black goo. Okay. Now, I bring this up because South Park doesn't make any bones about showing you graphic, gory blood and bone. And when they show people throwing up, they show the chunky brown, I don't want to get graphic, but you understand. But when they show someone throwing up black, they do that on purpose. Okay. Yep. Now, again, the reason I bring all this up is because of the story that, and again, this is pretty much put forward by Miles Johnson. I think I haven't heard this anywhere else, but Miles Johnson said that Max Spiers was vomiting black goo and leaking black goo from every orifice. Okay.
Yes, he did.
So where are we on that, Mark? Black goo.
On the black goo?
Yes.
The black goo is a good one. This isn't a shout out or this isn't a promotion or a non-promotion. Nicholson 68 did he did the whole series on the history of black goo in Hollywood. So I would say pop on over and check that. Okay, a lot of people that would watch this would know that Nicholson 68's done that, and with all the
isn't that
YouTube love and wars going on? I'm not saying, I'd say it's a good video to watch. It's all about black goo. Now going back to Max, yes, he was vomiting black goo, and when you hear about the what the online banter and chanter was, and trust me, I worked in a prison for 15 years, and I saw a lot of heroin addiction, and I saw a lot of methadone being handed out. And in the early days, if you had a heroin overdose, does anyone know what they would give you to promote vomiting and whatnot? Do you recall being given a piece of charcoal to chew on? That's what they were putting out there, that Max's belly was so full of charcoal to
detox,
sponge up so that's what the banter was. But yeah, he was spitting out the black goo, and she said 2 liters. That's a lot of black goo, and her living room would have looked like a living nightmare / hellhole. And that doctor that came in there at 6 o'clock and pronounced him dead, if he didn't look at the black goo all over the floor and say, we got a problem here, then you know what, Houston, we have a problem. We're Super Bowl 51.
Yeah, yes. No kidding. And that's a
come on. Give me a break. Where's that doctor? Can I talk to him now?
Yeah, right.
Tell him Mark wants to talk to him. A lot of people want to talk to a lot of people, and Monica Duvall still silent.
Oh yeah, Monica Duvall hasn't. Yeah. We haven't even gotten to Monica Duvall.
I know.
She's
You know what? It's like Cruella de Vil, right? It's Amy Cruella de Vil, 101 Dalmatians. Check the numbers on that.
Oh, you want Cruella de Vil? Look at Michael Aquino's wife.
Ah, Cruella.
Either that, or she's what's her name? The Munster, the wife of the Munster. The Munster, remember?
Lily?
Yeah.
Willie, yeah, Lily.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tish.
holy shit. No, it's Lily.
Morticia. It's Morticia.
Oh, that's the Addams family.
That's the Addams family.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm making fun.
Wait.
Tish.
Michael Aquino's wife is actually named Lilith.
Ah, Lilith. Do you remember Lilith? Amy, do you remember Lilith Fair?
Yeah, Lilith
Do you
Fair.
remember Lilith Fair?
What about Lilith?
Lilith is very important. Lilith is very important name to them.
What about?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Might
what
even-
about
might even go
Lilith
back
from the
to
garden
Beltane.
with the Garden of Eden,
That
right?
goes back to the Whore of
Yeah.
Babylon.
Lilith.
Just another name
You know?
for her.
I think of Lilith Fair and I see all these ladies, these pussycat hat wearing ladies walking around
Oh, gee.
at Lilith Fair with
Right.
with all the girl chick singers, up there at Canada's Wonderland. They used to play up there. Anyway, I'm off topic. I'll come back.
No, that's fine. We do that a lot around here.
Hey, man, you got to break it up. You're about to come into some other characters. Who's next on the character list? Miles Johnson, done, check. Where are we right now? Oh, the video.
Well,
Polish TV.
oh, did you
I
have
don't
something
know.
you wanted
You're
to
the boss.
present?
I think I'd like to present it later.
Okay.
The couple of things that I think that are like, wow, these are kind of like eye openers, thought provokers. I think I'd like to end off with those. My
Okay.
thought provokers. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
I'll make sure that I can read still. How's that sound?
So
No, what I want to do is I want to share a couple of messages and emails that I've received from people that say they are associated with Max. So that's the that's the hot news, the breaking news. That's going to be in my video. The messages that I've received from my videos, because you looked at the comments. There's a lot of people commenting on those videos about Max Spiers' death. And I've talked to a few of them privately about it. And I've got some good information about what the hell happened in that freaking apartment, because no one else wants to talk about it.
yeah, okay. Well, speaking of some thought-provoking stuff here, I had kind of an epiphany. Actually, I was having an epiphany while Max was also having an epiphany on his last interview. His last interview, he sort of makes some connections during the interview, and he sort of, astounds himself, and you can see him, or you can at least hear him working stuff out as he's speaking.
Right.
So let me just run through this, because it's kind of a lot, but it's going to be thought provoking, and you guys can you jump in or cut me off or wait till the end, and then we can go back. They were talking about wordplay, and a question was asked about buzzsaw. Which is
yes,
which is Sean Stone's show, and the word buzz. Also and Max often speaks about how when you fracture the mind, that it's a honeycomb, and also they were talking about the Tower of Babel. Okay, so the town, and they mentioned in the interview, I think, the town of Basel, Switzerland, where the Bank of International Settlements is located. And by the way, that's a Nazi-created organization. Also, while listening, I thought about the Tower of Babel, Babel. And what I'm going to do right now real quick, because I just want to do a quick screen share and show you guys, because I've seen people poo-poo this idea here. This Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland is actually, without a doubt, a modern version of the Tower of Babel, and it's in Basel, Switzerland. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks for the plug.
So then the light bulb goes off, and I thought, Trump Tower. Then, while thinking about Basel, Switzerland, it occurred to me, Have you guys ever seen the old John Cleese TV show called Faulty Towers?
Yes.
Faulty
Yeah,
Towers.
comedy. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the character that John Cleese played? Do you remember his name? Character name?
Not
No.
offhand.
It's Basil.
That's right. It is.
Wow. Good
Okay.
one. Good catch. Good catch.
So then he also brought up several names, and he started off with Stone Temple Pilots, the band name.
Right.
Yes.
And he said that he was actually friends with Scott Weiland, who not only died of strange circumstances, he also said the guy was a bit of a maniac. And he made the connection of the Stone Temple, that the stone being the mind or the skull. Okay. Now, Sean Stone is spelled, you can spell Sean S-H-A-W-N, or you can spell Sean S-E-A-N. This particular Sean is S-E-A-N, which is another way of saying seeing or seeing. Seeing stone, as in the seeing stone. Okay.
Right.
Then Sean Stone, son of Oliver Stone, Max made a connection of Oliver being that name, Olive. It was the olive branch from the Ark story, right? Which was, indicating that land was found. And I don't know the connection, how that works. But then he goes on to Baal worship, or Baal. Okay. And then he brings up the actor Christian Bale. He goes into briefly, and now I'm jumping back and forth the way he worked it out, and my notes are not exactly in chronological order the way he worked it out. But he said that the Bible story, everything is inverted. He's always saying that they invert. They take everything that's good and they make it bad, and they take every story and they flip it around so the bad guy is the good guy. He says the story from the Bible, Cain and Abel, right? That he says basically the name Abel, A-B-L-E, is an anagram for Baal, or Baal, B-A-L-E. So then he makes the connection. This is where Max Spiers has his own epiphany, and he says Christian Bale, B-A-L-E, which is an anagram for Abel, who played Batman or Badman, right? And then he made another connection of Oliver Stone, which is O-S, Oliver Stone, O-S or O-Z, Oz. Okay, because if you know anything about etymology, that certain letters are interchangeable and most vowels are interchangeable.
Right.
So he makes the connection that O-S is Osiris, and then I thought, the Wizard of Oz. Okay, and then he goes further. He says the buzzsaw. Buzz is Baz, is Basil, which the buzzsaw, which is what Sean Stone runs. Buzz, and then I thought to myself, we also have BuzzFeed, the news outlet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So the Tower of Babel, or Basel, in Switzerland, where the Bank of International Settlements resides. Now I'm just spitballing here. I'm not making strong connections. This is just a bunch of notes that I jotted down while I was going, holy crap. They also talked about the twin towers of the Temple of Solomon, Boaz and Jachin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mark, Amy and Ian and I had a chat earlier in the week where I brought this up to them, and we were looking up the etymology of the names Jachin or Joaquin, because the J in many cases in modern times, the J is silent. So we have Joaquin Phoenix, right? Brother of River Phoenix.
The first name that popped up when you said Joaquin was Joaquin Phoenix, a classic mind-controlled actor. Go ahead.
And he's also the brother of River Phoenix, who was sacrificed, who died at, again, strange circumstances at a young age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not making any accusations here, but the daytime, the morning talk show host Kelly Ripa and her husband Mark Consuela, they have a son called Joaquin, spelled Jackin. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I thought to myself that I might want to make a prediction that we're going to see a strange, untimely death of Joaquin Phoenix. And then Amy or Ian, I forget who, said that was actually the brother of River Phoenix. And then I remembered, oh, they already had their sacrifices, so they don't have to kill Joaquin. So,
well, if someone is in the family in that tribe is about to hit $20 million, then they're going to need another sacrifice. He could have been the $10 million sacrifice. Once you hit 20 mil, you're going to have to give somebody else up. But it was a close family member, so that's why he.
Where are these numbers coming from? What do you know about that?
Oh, probably one of the best videos to go and look at is Drake Illuminati, before he became a big time star. If it was talking about making the deal and what it takes, and there's a few videos out there with Jay-Z and whatnot. That's why you'll see me cheekily comment about. I've done a few sacrifice videos, and you'll see that I'll make note of it. Oh, they must hit the $20 million mark because it takes a little bit more now. Oh, so okay. Their earnings, their American Express Black Gold card that has 10 million on it. If they get the $20 million access, then they're gonna have to doff somebody. Michael Jordan's dad on I did it with the Bowie and the symbolism of the number 23. Michael Jordan's dad was he was done on a ritual day as well. So because Michael was making big bucks, but Michael was also had a gambling problem. So that's why they had to take away his black gold card, and he had to take out dad to get it back. That's my opinion.
You don't discredit the idea that there could be in the Masonic club itself. You have to have one of your own family members move up a level, which could also coincide with the fact that they get lots of money too, right?
Those are nice towers. If you notice, small communities sometimes make news, and one of the funniest things, we had a plane here in Peterborough crash landed on the main street at like 3 a.m, and CBC, and I'd never had a chance to do it, but it was a perfect hoax because it showed the wreckage of the plane being brought in and placed on the street, and then the photographs, and you had a drunk guy walking by taking pictures. Well, it was on like down, it's the name of Lansdowne Street in Peterborough. My sister flagged it on me. And you know what it is? Yeah. Somebody in that lodge around the Peterborough area, around this area, they were getting to 32 or 33, and they had to put on a hoax, a small town hoax. And that was our hoax. So that's what you're seeing. That's the sacrifice. Wow. When you get bigger, you're going to have to snuff somebody out. And maybe they'll be watching it at a Marriott hotel.
Somebody killed in your family.
You know what? Analyze it.
Yeah.
I got 3 in my family, FMs. Past, present.
Right.
So you got to just keep your back up on everybody.
Yeah, you keep your friends up. Keep your friends close.
Tower of Basil. I like that one. Adam Lear. Tower of Basil. Yeah. Basil's a good herb to take, eh? Basil is a good herb to take with oregano.
Yes,
boil.
Yes.
That's a global agenda health tip.
Okay. All right. Well,
so you're going to the Basil. Okay, so you're going Joaquin Phoenix. Okay. You know what? I can look at that. I can go dig into a rabbit hole on Joaquin for a couple hours and come up with something and throw a video out on it. Because you're right. I'm predicting somebody's going down soon. I think Taylor Swift might be going down. I just saw that title of her video. That's, the one she released late last year. I hadn't seen it. I go, wow, she's done. I've been talking about Taylor Swift's bad blood in a few of my videos.
Well, the Joaquin Phoenix thing came after we were investigating the etymology of the name Joaquin, because the two towers, Jachin and Boaz, depending on the culture or language that you name your child in, and we also check the pronunciations that some of them do turn out to be Joaquin. So it really it's a matter of an etymological version of the Jachin and of the two towers of the Temple of Solomon.
Jachin. That's the most common pronunciation.
What's the numbers on it? You got your gematria calculator opened up, Amy, there? I got it there.
Yeah, I got it. How do you spell
Joaquin. How many? Joaquin. J-A?
C-H-I-M.
Jacchim.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's how you spell Jachim and Boaz.
What about Joaquin Phoenix? Throw him
Joaquin
in
there. has a what was it, Aaron? It had something different.
Etymological root.
Okay, so Jachim is your number 44. So that's a bingo there. You got your kill shot there.
Kill number.
So yeah, that's done. You're right. That's a great call. There's a video right there. I see it. It's a kill shot. 44. Obama 44.
Hey. While you're saying that word kill shot, we were actually having a chat in the chat box a little while ago. Where I mentioned to somebody in the chat, somebody said, I forget how we got on the subject, but I mentioned that I had personally met the character Ed Dames. Oh yeah, Conchi, our friend Dom said something about the movie Staring at Goats. And
sorry.
Hang on, he's having an epiphany right now. I see the light bulb going off.
It's spelled with an N though. Jachin.
Yeah, and Joaquin is finishes with an N as well.
Yeah.
So my friend Dom said something about the movie Staring at Goats, and I quickly fired back. I said I met Ed Dames, who was played by Kevin Spacey in that movie.
I know a bit about Ed Dames,
but
not a great deal.
But the reason I brought it up is because Ed Dames is running around giving these conferences, and the title of the conference is called Kill Shot.
Yes. And he's suggesting that the sun is going to spew out
CME,
coronal
mass ejection,
and take out the planet.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why.
So Ed Dames is also he's a remote viewer, right? So you've got him preaching what's about to happen, and he's been talking about meteorites.
He's making a killing off of it too.
Oh my God! And then you take his course. You look at, I've investigated him for sure because I listen to Coast since our boy Art Bell was on, right? So he had Ed Dames on all the time. So I know Ed Dames like the back of my hand. I go, this son of a gun. That's all he's about. He wants to sell his DVDs and the CDs, right? So Ed Dames is a remote viewer. Well, predict this, buddy. Tell me what's going down. Can I talk to Ed Dames too?
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, I'll tell you.
Get me Ed Dames.
I'll tell you my quick story. I went to a conference with a friend of mine, and I met Ed Dames. And
you did, eh? Money.
Yeah, it was a. I mean, I could tell you story after story about that whole experience, but the main thing is, I had a confrontation with him in front of the whole room.
Wow.
Somebody asked him about the reptilian aspect of the whole conspiracy world, and he shot it down immediately. He said, there's no such thing as reptilian aliens. So I piped up and I said, okay, wait a minute. I said, you say that there's no such thing at all, definitively, that there's no reptilian aliens whatsoever at all. I said, can you explain why every single freaking culture on this planet, no matter when the culture existed and no matter how far apart each culture existed from each other, separated from time and space, I said every culture on this planet has a reptilian ancestry origin story. Now, what happened, and I'll make it very brief, I rattled off a whole bunch of cultures off the top of my head. Among those cultures was the Hopi Indians, and and he picked that one out. I must have rattled off 10 or 12 cultures and to make my point. And he said, the Hopi do not have the blah, 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 blah. He says, I'll bet you a beer. And he literally gave me a public tongue lashing. And because I didn't have the correct answer and response, I couldn't fire back and say, oh, yes, they do, and here it is. I couldn't do that. I basically had to sit down with my tail between my legs. But then I went home and I looked it up, and sure as shit, they absolutely do have a origin story that's reptilian in nature.
Well, who was it
Really?
that was? What was the culture that was talking about the ant?
The Grand Canyon?
I'm sorry, Mark. What?
Sorry, yeah, I was talking over the Grand Canyon.
You mean
Ethiopian?
Chaco? You mean Chaco Canyon?
Where was their land?
The Hopis are the American Southwest. And,
Southwest. So were they in the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, they could have been around the Grand Canyon area, Arizona, New Mexico.
Grand Canyon.
Okay, so I hate to cut you off. Now I've got it in my head now. So continue with yours because I have mine too. Thanks.
So what was the culture that talked about the ant people that went underground?
Was
that the Hopi?
I know the Hopi had a legend of going underground and re-emerging.
You know, that may have been the Hopi as well, but in terms of an origin story is what my focus was. And I'll just throw this out for a piece of information. They do have an origin story. It involves one of their braves or tribes member going into a cave and copulating with serpent women. So there's that.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, the Colorado River. Okay, so
yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked it up, and yes, it's the Hopi that speak of the ant people.
It is. Yeah, it's funny because you guys are funny.
What do ants have? They have huge eyes, right? And it makes me think of gray aliens. Like,
yes, it does. It
leads me to believe that they were describing gray aliens.
Could very well be.
Well, they're also describing a culture of beings that live in the inner earth.
True.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that's.
Well, where are all the alien bases? They're in the side of the mountains.
Yeah.
In the Hopi district. So I had a video the other day I threw in there. Like I said, I'm vice president of videos. Catch up. An old 1984, I think it was, Grand Canyon through, the old IMAX theater, flying through the Grand Canyon. And it was narrated by none other than Telly Savalas. Look up, just Google Telly Savalas Grand Canyon. I watched that video like maybe 5 days ago. It was a 45-minuter, and it was about the Hopis. And it was like awesome. I'm going to my brother-in-law. I'm going, these people are awesome. And I know that they're part of the reptilian. They're part of the breed. The bloodlines. That's so funny because legend they are unique.
Yeah, legend has it they're the oldest civilization too.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why Hollywood Productions. I think Hollywood Productions, whoever made that video, I went, who financed this? It was something Hollywood Incorporated. And I go, Telly Savalas narrating the Hopis. I go, something's going on here. And now I just got my answer. Thank you, reptilian race. My aunts and uncles. Yeah. Hopieville. Hopi. Look that one up. What's Hopi in Gematria? 39? I don't know. All I know is Yakim is 44 kill shot, going back to Ed Dane's kill shot. It all comes full circle to Ed Dane's. What do I got? I got Jimmy. Oh, I got 288. I got 48. I got Facebook. There you go. Hopi equals Facebook. Global agenda out.
All right, we're making
first word I see, Facebook and Hopi. Oh, wow.
There you go, Pam. Done.
Hey, the numbers don't lie. Yeah, call me naive. Eh? What's the English boys saying? Oh, they're saying sex and evil and blood and sun and there you go. That's better. Levi. Yeah, they're hoax. There you go. 288.
Hoax.
James, sex, evil, blood, sun, Tom, hoax. Perfect. Hopi's a good word. That's the reptilian race, everybody. Is David Icke done anything about Hopi and the reptilian?
Well, he went over and saw a guy named Credo something in South Africa.
Credo Mutwa.
And yeah, he went way out in the middle of nowhere and interviewed this guy in a tent.
Yes.
And this guy had this divine necklace that he had, and he got it stolen by some hooligans. And he was talking about the ancient
Beyonce.
where it was started, where the reptilian race started in Africa.
Nice.
In Ethiopia, I think, wasn't it, Aaron?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they got the giants, right? The big giant
Nephilim skulls and bodies.
Yeah. Yep. And in northern Ukraine too, Russia.
I want to point out one thing that looking at Hopi in my Gematrinator, you know, they've started putting in the reverse. And when I look at, it was my suggestion to them that they add, you know how in the regular gematria they have the S exception and then they have the K and the V exceptions?
Yep.
Well, in reverse you have an H exception and you have a E and a P exception as well. So when you run it with all three exceptions, it's 33.
There you go.
Just thought I'd mention that.
Zachary Hubbard's actually been using that reverse system quite a lot.
Yes, he's been quite
amazing.
It's been like giving candy to a newborn baby, right? He's found a new toy.
Like a birthday present for him.
He's on it. Right. He's on it. I like the flip. I like the flipping the numbers too. It looks because basically like we talked about earlier with the alphabet, every friggin' language has a number affiliated. Why did they create that? Because they had to create these future numbers and sequences so their energy levels can stay reptilian. That's what I got.
We talked about this briefly with
numbers and alphabets.
We talked about this briefly with Thomas Sheridan the other day about lesser magic and how words are used. And obviously, you know, we have witches cast a spell and we use letters to spell our words. And then our words create vibration in your consciousness. And then that's how, you know, things are manifested through what they call lesser magic. But before we get too far away from, you mentioned Facebook earlier. Our new friend Pablo Damon is in the chat. He says, I believe Facebook is a trainer for telepathy. What do you think about that? What do you think about this idea of social media in terms of like what he's just said, being
I wouldn't be on it.
A mind trainer?
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, holy cow.
A trainer for telepathy.
That's a great question. That is a great question. A trainer for telepathy. Do you think it's a trainer for telepathy? I get my telepathy elsewhere. I don't need Facebook giving me telepathy.
I would not necessarily agree with that, actually.
The algorithms don't lie.
It's an open platform, and that's, to me, that's a positive.
Well,
I'm not. The platform.
For now.
It is.
I would say more that it would be a
like YouTube,
a platform or a purveyor of lesser magic. I mean,
a conduit.
We had Dr. Joseph Farrell on here, and in the end, he gave us 45 minutes of the most amazing overtime where we talked about CERN, and he brought up the concept of data correlation experiments where they're not only running CERN, but they're simultaneously injecting certain memes in the media, and including social media. And they're bringing things into manifestation through this concept of lesser magic. And then they're also boosting it with the technology that they have to tinker with the frequency of the magnetic field of the of the Earth. and that CERN is operating at 15,000 times the magnetic field of the local magnetic field of the Earth. So there's that.
I can relate totally to that.
All right, let's try to get back on topic a little bit. Richie Allen, you mentioned, and we were discussing a couple of days ago, literally 2 days ago, he had Vanessa Bates on, which is Max Spiers' mother. She said that she had spoke with Monica Duvall and distinctly heard several people in the background in English scrambling around saying, "Get cups of vinegar, cups of blood, and cups of milk." So
that's
no, go ahead.
That's exactly what was going on. It was the ritual. We just talked about it.
The cooking thing. What was it called?
Spirit.
You're going back. Yeah, you're going back to Podesta 101 and Pizzagate with spirit cooking with Anna Brahmovich, whatever her name is. We know who she is.
Abramovich.
So it comes full circle to that. So basically, Max was put on a silver platter, and he was served up after his body was there. You heard Miles Johnson say that there was 6 hours to get his. He had 6 hours to save him. In the astral plane, they could bring him back, and that's what Sarah Adams and everybody in that room was trying to do, was bring him back through ritual practices, rituals, whatever you want to say. But it was the other way around. They were performing the actual dead man's ritual. It was, they were performing oral sex on the dead body, and there was all kinds of like we said, the blood and urine, and the body was surrounded by it as the ritual was taking place for the dead body. That's why the body didn't leave until 11 o'clock the next day, right? You heard Vanessa talk about that, and she's questioned, why did it take overnight to remove the body? Well, because they were still having their little seance around untimely passing of Max. It was ritualistic. Energy. And I think that the camera could have been rolling. She heard people in the background trying to get Max awake. No, that was more like there was a ritual going on there. That's for sure.
Okay, so have you listened or watched Max's last conference in Poland?
Which one, sorry?
The conference that he did
his
in
last
Poland.
Conference?
Yeah, not the last interview, but his last conference in Poland, right before the
one that was translated?
Yes.
The one that was translated?
Yes.
Yeah, I listened to it until I couldn't take the translation anymore.
Oh, well, I must...
But his story...
Oh, is that why it was all choppy and all over the place? Scrambled?
Yeah, it was bad, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the translation, yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah, it was kind of hard.
I must have caught a different version because I didn't get the sense that I didn't get the irritating sense that you guys are talking about. I was able to listen to him speak without, and every once in a while, the woman would interject and she would say something in Polish. But what I wanted to bring up was he sounded rather incoherent. He was unable to finish about 90% of his sentences. He would start a sentence and he would derail himself and go completely different direction. I mean, we talking about the same? I mean, it must be. I mean, how many conferences?
I was watching he was doing some lecture and he was proud that he could finally do it or something. At the start, he was like, "I'm really grateful I'm able to do this."
Yeah.
And then he was kind of like,
the one.
He was scrambled and all over the place. Like it was just like, if I was not awake and I listened to that, I'd think he was absolutely bonkers.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I think that was done before he went to Turkey, but it wasn't done that far gone into his stay in Poland. He had done that. I think what was the posting date on that one? That was in April. It was only a few months before the Polish series of interviews. So he was well into the Polish program and the Monica Duvall program by then. That's where they had to have. Definitely, they were reintroducing him into the drug program because he was being required to do other services.
Okay, well, one other thing I wanted to bring up about that particular conference, and I just want to clear the air on what he had to say in case anybody is curious, and this is really just for the record, that is. In that conference, he described the Ouroboros, and it's his description of the Ouroboros is complete bullshit. In his presentation at that point there. So, I mean, is anybody, Mark in particular, are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Because I didn't actually write down, and I'm having a hard time remembering specifically. I've done so much digging into Max this week, and I'm just, scrambled. I just wrote down that his description of the Ouroboros, which is basically the symbol of the serpent eating its tail. I think he equated it having something to do with souls and the afterlife. And I'm sorry, but I just don't remember specifically. I just remember going, that's fucking bullshit. That is absolute nonsense. And in case anybody doesn't know, I'll be happy to tell you exactly what the Ouroboros is, what it represents, and why we have that symbol. So if you want to move forward,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Well, the Ouroboros is. Go ahead.
I'll definitely look at that though.
Okay.
I don't. The referral, I'm not sure of, but yeah, I'll definitely look at it and I'll talk to you.
Okay. Well, the Ouroboros, for the record, is nothing more than the Milky Way galaxy. In fact, I'll even, while I'm talking to you, I'll see if I can pull up. I'll do a Google search on the Ouroboros and show you an image of the Milky Way galaxy that looks exactly like the mouth of a serpent eating its own tail, and right in the center of the mouth is the center of our Milky Way galaxy. And now the alignment that took place on 2012, which is when the winter solstice, when the sun rose on the winter solstice, December 21st, which is 12212012, December 21st, 2012. That's when the Mayan calendar clock went from 0 to 1. It reset itself. Okay? Now that's the wobble of the Earth's axis. It's a 25,920 year cycle. Now, when you look into the night sky, you might see the band of stars representing our Milky Way galaxy. It usually goes on a diagonal from our perspective across the sky. At certain times of the eon or age, which is Plato's description of the eon, which is the cycle of 26,000 years, is the band of stars of our galaxy. It moves from an angle to being horizontal. So in other words, it encircles the Earth. It goes all the way around the horizon. All right? So so at certain times of the eon, like right now, if you look up into the sky, you won't see that Milky Way band going diagonally across the sky. What you'll see is, because we're so close, we're only 5 years past 2012, what you'll see is the majority of that band going all the way around the horizon. The Ouroboros is known as the Earth Encircler. That's also known as the Earth Shaker.
Nice.
And right in the center, where the mouth is eating the tail, is literally the center. It's where our black hole, our supermassive black hole, they say, that's the center of our Milky Way galaxy. And the alignment that took place on 2012 is when the sun rose on the solstice, dead center in the mouth of the Ouroboros. And that's all it is. Oh, and by the way, the symbol of the Ouroboros with the serpent eating its tail is actually a symbol of infinity. It's a symbol of self-sustainability, because it eats itself and it grows by eating itself. It doesn't need anything else to sustain itself. It's a self-sustaining system. That's what it symbolizes.
Got it.
So there's your astrology lesson for today.
That's a great point.
It's never about 2012 being the end of the world. It was a new age, the beginning of a new age.
Yep.
It's always about it goes in circles, right? So,
as Zach would say, circles and cycles.
What was the alignment on that day? Did you see your alignment on that day? On the scope? I'm looking at it right now. 2012, December 2012.
21st.
21st, going into the next day.
That's the winter solstice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, all the stars were supposed to align.
So yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Well, as soon as I find just the right image, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I got it. Watch this. Watch this. Come on, screen share. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the image right in the center of the screen. Now, what does that look like to you? Am I screen sharing full screen for everybody?
I don't see it.
Yep.
You have to click on his icon, and you'll be able to see it in the Hangout.
Here, you know what? Let me click my own icon since I'm hosting, and I'll make sure that the whole video is.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice.
We'll present to everyone.
Right there.
Yeah.
That is the serpent eating its tail.
Yeah.
You see the head of the serpent right in the center? The open mouth, and you can even see the eyeball.
Yeah, it's eating its tail.
And now it's a little blurry. Sorry, but I'm going to have to zoom way in.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
But that is the serpent eating its tail. That is the earth encircler, the earth shaker, because Earth is known as the island in the sea of the cosmos. So the earth encircler, otherwise known as the Ouroboros, is also known as Leviathan in the ancient Hebrew. And you may see a fish eating its own tail.
Yep.
But it's the same thing. In the ancient Jewish
tradition, looks like it's got seal puppy eyes.
In the ancient Jewish tradition, it's known as Leviathan. This is the Ouroboros.
Does that NASA take that picture for us there?
You mean an artist at NASA drew it for us?
It's pretty cool. I'm going to use it as a screensaver. I'm going to use it.
I was admiring the lovely colors.
It's cool shot. Hey, it's up there. I know the Braille is up there. I can see it now.
Well, listen, if you want some really good, if you like to read books, if you want a really good book to read on this subject, and as well as many other subjects relating to this, jot this down. The author's name is David Flynn, and the name of the book is Cydonia, The Secret Chronicles of Mars. Now, you don't have to write that down because I just said it on air, and it'll be on the video. You can go back and catch it. But if you want to write that down one more time, it's David Flynn, the author, and the title of the book is Cydonia, The Secret Chronicles of Mars. You read that book, and your mind will come screwing right out of your skull. So there's that. Anyway, we got about 25 minutes left. It's your turn, Mark. The floor is yours. You can present to us anything you like.
You know what? I would like to have 2 minutes to the side right now, just off mic, and I'm just going to set it up, okay? So if you want to just continue with dialogue for a few minutes while I just set it up, what I want to bring up on my screen. Thanks.
And just so you guys know, I did get through all my notes.
Awesome.
Huzzah.
Huzzah, huzzah.
Except for one. I've got a question for Mark at the end of the show here. And this is a question that we're going to now present to every single guest from now on. So,
yep.
Other than that, I am done with my notes, and it's open season. Mark has muted his mic. So what are we doing now? Mark, you got something?
We're waiting for him to get himself set up for his presentation. And
okay. Well, in the meantime, how about somebody hop over in the chat and see what people saying and give some shout outs.
Well, Jordan Rains says the age of Aquarius started on February 4th, 1962. All the planets were in the house of Aquarius.
That's correct.
That's
right.
Jordan Rains mentioned earlier when we Abramovich performing the cleaning, quote unquote, in the Modern Museum in Stockholm.
Jordan Rains said you can find Flynn's presentation on YouTube, and that's correct as well. Unfortunately, David Flynn has passed away at an untimely age. He was a little young to leave us, but he is dead now, and that sucks. But you can still find his presentations on YouTube. He's one of the most brilliant researchers in the world.
Lady Zaga has provided a link. I'm not sure what it is.
Whenever you're ready, Mark.
I'm good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. Okay.
We're just filling the space.
Thank you. So interestingly enough, when you produce the controversial videos that we do in this part of YouTube called The Conspiracy, what are we, realists?
We call it the alternative research community.
ARC. You receive lots of private messages, and you receive lots of emails and whatnot. I received this from a woman probably just during the whole pre-Pizzagate. So it was just as stuff was hitting the fan with Pizzagate, and she is telling me that she is the one that raised the awareness to the media on October 16th, and it was on behalf of Vanessa Bates. So her name is staying confidential. She does have a YouTube channel, and I'm going to read you what she sent me before this whole thing blew up, okay?
All right.
And then, you know what, like I said, chew the meat, spit out the bones.
Sure.
So it'll take me about 10 minutes to read this, and then I guess we can close with quick questions. I'll do the best I can to read.
We got 25 minutes. Be good.
Okay, cool.
We can do a few minutes of overtime. If you got more, we can do overtime. We're not corporate control.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Just discovered she says, great channel, thank you. And see you're digging around Max Spiers. So I thought I would pass on some information your way. It starts with James Casbolt, who is married to Haley Meyer of the Meyer supermarket empire of the USA. Not going into all of that, but basically James Casbolt, before going off the rails because of his kid, was telling the truth. Hank Meyer is a global Satanist, and so is everyone in the Gerald Ford Foundation. Through his blessings in a backpack foundation is a form of child trafficking, weapons, and drug smuggling. Like with the Clinton Foundation, James went to various satanic parties. Haley was passed around like a baton, and she was used to cover herself and their son. She used to cover herself and her son with feces, and parts of her mind control was being a sex slave. James was aware of all of this and threatened to expose them and got kicked out of the USA. The Myers did not give him I guess he was asking for 75,000 pounds at the time, I guess it says here. In the they had a prenuptial agreement that he had signed. Being in a state of rage and anger and disappointment, he stupidly put up disgusting photos of Haley naked on the internet. And it looked down on him like a ton of bricks. It fell down on him like a ton of bricks, and he got in over the top. His 11-year sentence, I guess, is what it's all about, and you know that. So basically, Casbolt is now doing time for all these postings of Haley Meyer on the internet naked, right? Because she was sending him pictures of herself naked while he was in the U.S. military. What's a Brit doing in the U.S. military? That's another question to be answered. So how does this link into Max? Well, they met in Brighton in the swimming pool, and you heard in that clip I said Max talks. Well, they met at a swimming pool in Brighton many years ago when Vanessa and her then husband were big drug addicts and traffickers. Now that's her saying this. I don't have any clue about this at all. He's a high up professor apparently, and his name slips my mind as in the moment of time. He used to take Max with him to the pool on drug runs to meet James's father. That's when I said they knew his father, who was also London, which was also the London to Brighton drug run for the MI5. That's how they knew each other. Regarding Max's death, he was targeted by Monica. Max had no money, and she must have offered to pay his expense for his holidays to Cyprus before going on to Poland. Now the story and the timeline being peddled does not add up. Max sent a photo, apparently to Sarah Adams, which I have seen via third party, of Max, healthy looking, good in the shower, and the next day, and it was at 6:15 Polish time. So the day before Max's apparent death, he had sent out a photograph at 6:15 showing him healthy and in the shower. The doctor certified him dead by natural causes. This cannot be the case, as I have the photos of Max's head injury over his right eye, and there's been lots of talk about that. Max had a severe head injury, and the doctor should have seen the trauma. Monica Duval claimed that he felt unwell, came downstairs, and lay on the sofa. Well, anyone with a sane mind couldn't help but notice that he had a head injury, and what is odd about it, it looks like it was the word S-I-N, sin, engraved in it. Now that is also bizarre. What's also bizarre here is Max's sister, a heavy drug user herself, has said coincidentally that she has sent photos of Monica and the other people there giving Max's dead body a blowjob, etc. I have yet to get this confirmed. David Icke stepped in and gave Vanessa the £1,000 to keep the case open in Poland, and the BBC are doing a documentary on it. Now, this was before the one that just happened, of course. So she's talking about this in October. The person who exploded it all to the media was, in fact, myself. This is no conspiracy here. It was indeed me. Vanessa asked me to help, and that's why it went viral. As for the James Casbolt story, all I can tell you is that him saying he was in a Canadian Jesuit orphanage has all checked out to be true. And the other third party informed me that many royal parties went there, combining their visits with secret polar bear hunts in Nelson, British Columbia. I got so far in digging that Thames Valley suggested I kindly stop. I haven't. I've been doing all this uncover. So please do not reveal my identity. I am sharing this info with you because this connects to the 9th Satanic Circle International Pedophile Ring, and you are spot on with all your findings to date. It's deep and very dark. Go listen to Abel Danger and you will understand how it works. Basically, the church's orphanages is where all these abused children and they received mind control training. Like Field McConnell of Abel Danger says about his sister and government secret agent Marcy, who happens to be Hillary Clinton's handler. These kids are trained brainwashed. Then they have sex with so-called famous people, royalty, politicians, judges, who are then blackmailed. Abel's sister, Christine Marcy, was responsible for setting up a live feed to serve that runs via London, where the feed footage of snuff films, ritual abuse, can be accessed globally by the elites in real time. All links in with Kathy O'Brien and Bryce Taylor's testimony. No one you see as famous isn't part of this in any way or form. I don't know if you know Bryce's story. There's a 20-hour audio of her book on YouTube called Thanks for the Memories. She explains how Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope started it all. She names Neil Diamond, Barbra Streisand, etc. The list is endless, and all I know is that Max was going to expose Ricky Gervais and George Michael before his death, to name a few, so well as top politicians and lords from the House of Windsor. I forgot to add Abel's sister Marcy, Hillary, and Huma. Marcy, Hillary, and Huma did disgusting things with children, and a lot of it's on film. Abel's sister is handled by Thomas Schmolik, a Jesuit priest. What is this all saying? All paths lead to Rome. Like I say, this is the tip of the iceberg. The real disgusting thing is that the live feed of this abuse and its setup, and Abel's sister is able to get away with it. When millions are innocently doing Halloween, they're feeding off this energy and doing really disgusting live feed abuses. It's all satanic at the highest level. All traces back through the Bible and the 12 tribes bloodlines of Israel, who turned on the David C. Christ line, the Da Vinci Christ line. Christ was rich, but gave his wealth away, helped the poor, etc., and they couldn't have this elite language. Regarding words, they're not the same as ours. The Ark of the Covenant actually means the Ark of Contract, the contract. They were all part of the Saturnalian Brotherhood, the religious are in fact fake, except for pure Christianity, which requires no church to idol worship. Over the Ark, they used to pour women's menstrual blood over. This satanic lineage goes back to the fallen ones and explains why we have controls. Now, from the cradle to the grave, the biggest joke and con going on is the Bible. She's getting Bible-centric. And as the story goes, remember the New World Order and the RFID chip. The RFID is already written into law, regardless of who is president. And on the 21st of December, there it's the 21st of December again, 2017, there has to be chaos. There has to be a global financial collapse. It mattered not who was president here. Trump, if he refuses to fall into line, will be the patsy. I could go on, but I know you already know this. Keep up the good work and keep my name secret. God bless. That's it.
That's
there.
Why December 21st?
That's the solstice.
Because
that's the solstice.
It's the one we were just talking about. It's funny how it came up. I forgot that part of
That's
the letter.
That's another synchronicity.
Yeah, synchronicity. Yeah, crazy. I'm reading that as we were just talking about.
We're getting echoes again.
Probably because we all unmuted our mics at the same time. Maybe, I don't know.
Probably.
We get what we pay for.
Yeah. You're funny.
So,
all right. So
wow. Okay, December 21st, 2017. Everybody, keep your eye on that day. Dude, that is fucking scathing.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And by the way, Vanessa Bates on Richie Allen, Vanessa Bates did actually say that David Icke stepped forward, paid the $1,000.
Yeah, we knew that because if anyone was watching, they watched because she's got a GoFundMe.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
that. For legal funding, Max has actually got his website, maxspiers.com's got the funding on it. You can see Vanessa's updates. She's talking about how the case is going.
Okay.
Just to pay for her legal costs, she's got that on maxspiers.com.
So did you have another? That was really, and man, we have said before that all roads go to Rome. All roads do, in fact, lead to Rome. Did you have
so here's another. Yeah, here's a quickie here.
Go ahead.
Not a quickie. They're never quickies with me.
Sure.
So dissect that for a second. There's a lot of info, but it's pretty well.
I'm going to have to go back. I will go back and listen.
Yeah, it's kind of to the script of what's been going on. Super Soldier Forum, supersoldierforum.com. The Max Spiers murder. I was in contact with July 16, 2016. I was in contact with Ari's Jedi in my comment section on my Max Spiers and the Death of the Roses, the red roses versus the white rose. It was she's Angela in Super Soldier form. She is she recently had a dream about the girl in Iceland, Berna, and she lives in Iceland. And she had a vision of a dream of the child's. She's not a child, she's a 21-year-old young lady, but the girl's running shoes by the lighthouse outside her window. And lo and behold, 8 days after the girl went missing, they found her shoes by the lighthouse. And she also had a dream of a girl scrambling for her life in water. And she, I've been talking to her on and off now since last October with the Max Spiers videos, and she talks about nano brain bombs. Believe it or not, you go to Suicide Squad, the film, is a 2016 American superhero film based on DC Comics' anti-hero team of the same name. And this was filmed in Toronto here and released August 5th, 2016 in the States. So not too long after Max was killed, okay? It was released. So August 15th, that was what, 3 weeks from his death, okay? So the movie has assassins that get out of jail and they go and fight the good fight as assassins, I guess, super soldiers. Each member has a nanobomb implanted in their neck, designed to detonate should any member rebel or try to escape. And she was talking to me in the Super Soldier forum, and she says that Max may have been the target of a nanobomb. The same thing that they were talking about with the Suicide Squad being hit with, and you know, I mean, Miles Johnson's talked about being poisoned, and Carrie Cassidy's talked about being hit with a scalar weapon and having her face or side kicked in, and we've had Breitbart being kicked off with a suicide injection of serum to kill his heart, whatever. But she's talking about a nanobomb, and she had no idea about who's the fellow from England. He was talking about nanobombs. I've got it. She was totally unaware that who is that fellow? What am I thinking? Who am I thinking of? It's on the tip of my tongue. Give me a second here.
Take your time, man. We're not in a hurry. Even we can do overtime. Yeah, you just take your time.
Okay, I just have to look. I just want to read you the comment that she talks about. But the funniest thing is, it's the British politician. He used to be a counselor, Simon Parkes. That's who I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
So my mind's clear now. Thanks for that. Yeah, I just needed that. So Simon Parkes did a video, and she was totally unaware of it. And Simon Parkes said that Max was hit with a nanobomb, and that they can trigger it and kind of like kill you slowly through this little device that wipes out your brain, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm talking, I'm going back and forth with Angela in the forum, and she says, "Hi again. Wow, I've been so busy with our second move in 9 months." This was when she was moving to Iceland, and this was posted on in Super Soldier forum on 11/20/16. So what, November 20th? Okay. So she says, "Hi again. My family, we just saw about 100 UFOs whilst we were camping at Pusey, 5 miles away from the conference." She was at the Bases conference in 2014, and she heard Simon Parkes speak. But she didn't know that Simon Parkes had just talked about a nanobomb hitting Max. Meanwhile, she was telling me that her husband had nanobombs because he's a super soldier, and he had these, and she detected them. And she's off in astral plane too. She's talking to me about fighting wars, and she says she's a character from Suicide Squad. That's what took me there to the character. And I went, what? So anyway, that's a whole another friggin' 25 minutes. But she said to me here, she says, if Max was CCR5 Delta 32, so she's obviously giving me a code there, okay? That's all super soldier jargon. Then poison would not kill him, only make him sleep. So they let Simon talk about the nano brain bombs, eh? Interesting. My hubby went abroad last week, and he was able to see his scan, and although he saw 2 metal implants in his face and jaw about a year ago, he has none this time around. I've been working on removing them, so that's great. I'm not so sure about Simon Parkes. So I have one saying that he could have been nanobombed, maybe it was, and Simon Parkes is telling us he was nanobombed. And I have that video clip that's going to be in my next video. So I'll be discussing that further about the nanobombs and the Suicide Squad and all relating to Max. But it all comes full circle. This is all about covering up the pedophile, global pedophile, child trafficking.
I think you're right. It is about covering up the pedophiles and it's about muddying the waters, because I was just going to say that story from Parks about the nanobombs, that doesn't even come into play with anybody's testimony so far.
No, but you got to remember, Simon Parks claims that he's half reptilian and half human.
So if we're all fucking crazy for listening to that guy.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We're all crazy. But something definitely a play here with his death and the way that they've thrown all these little grenades at us. You know, these nanobombs, typically we're all being carpet bombed by these nanobombs, and it takes you down different tunnels and Dungeons and Dragons. And
it kind of reminds me of 9/11. It's like one theory after the other. And, you know, once we all latch on to the new theory, they come out with a new one. I mean, how long was it before Judy Wood splashed?
I'll be playing that clip.
Right?
I'll be playing that clip about Simon Parks talking about the nanobombs.
I mean, what was it, 14 years before Judy Wood hit the scene? 13, 12 years? When did Judy Wood hit the scene? Anybody? Bueller?
The same time that Rebecca Roth hit the scene.
That's right. And Rebecca Roth as well. That's right. The airline stewardess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It send you down another path 10 years
Well,
later.
they want you to believe that there's planes. Right?
They want people like us. They could look. The elites have always known that a certain percentage of the population does not buy whatever official story they're feeding the populace. They've always known that there's a chunk of the population that just says bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now because of the internet, that percentage of the population has grown to a gross proportion.
Huge proportion. Which
actually bothers the crap out of me, because as Zbigniew Brzezinski has said, it's easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
Right.
True.
Yeah. What was the line? It's better to lie than not to have to tell the truth right away, you know?
Right. It's better to not tell the truth, not answer the question than lie.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's a great
that MSNBC anchor lady there with the short blonde hair. She's a total lefty.
The new one that they got from Fox.
She's new. Zbigniew Brzezinski's.
Right.
That leftist MSNBC. She's on with that quirky guy with the glasses. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. And she was, she's been caught lying. She's the one that said, what did she say lately? She said something really stupid. It was in the news. Anyway, I can't remember now.
Well, Mark, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I see the time. Awesome. It was. I know. It's a huge story. And you're gonna have your detractors. You're gonna have your people saying he's nothing but a heroin, drug, alcohol drinking fool, spreading disinformation. But when you see a sober Max talking, his message is pretty powerful, and that's why I like to leave that clip of him talking about the child molestation and the fact that they just want to throw this transgender at us with turning a super Olympic hero, Bruce Jenner, into Caitlyn Jenner, and how they're picking on man, and they want basically to take the power away from the man and just to give it to it, and that's what it's about. They're after our hearts. That's why you're seeing iHeartRadio, like I opened up with. You see, it's all about the heart, and now they're using the heart sign as kind of like their universal Baphomet horns, and now they're showing us the heart. That's another energy suck that they're doing to us, right?
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. I've said on multiple occasions that if you go and look at any old artistic painting of Jesus Christ from the Middle Ages and plus or minus, more often than not, you'll see an image of Christ with his heart on the outside of his body, and with one hand he points to his heart, and with his other hand he points to the sky.
Right.
So the esoteric meaning there is that the way to enlightenment is through the heart. So as you
exactly,
Max is all, and look, it's always been about the heart. They have always known this.
Right.
Yes.
And anybody who knows about the chakras and the Kundalini, that you know right off the bat that the heart is in fact the strongest energy source. And
just remember,
it dwarfs the energy that comes out of your mind.
Isn't it in the purple? Isn't it where the spectrum changes too? Right in the middle? Because the spectrum goes from red at the bottom to blue at the top.
See, it's the center of the double vortex.
Yes.
So if you're sitting, you've got a vortex that goes upward and you've got a vortex that goes downward. That's a big torsion field, and the heart is right in the center, or where the 0 point would be. And by the way, if anybody's curious, I would urge you to keep this in mind or jot it down. Go look at the work of Frank Chester, and you'll be absolutely freaking astonished, especially the part on the presentation where he gives that the thing that he created, which is a first ever 7-sided object of equilibrium surface area, so this guy Frank Chester is running around the internet. You can find his presentations. He discovered by accident how and why the muscular structure of the human heart grows the way it does, and doctors and scientists have never been able to figure it out, because the way the muscles grow on these inclining angles opposing each other layer, each new layer goes the opposite direction, and each direction, the inclination increases as the layers go from in to out and then backwards. Because there's like 8 or 9 layers of muscle in the human heart, and the muscles grow in these directions that oppose each other. Like I'll give you an example just to give you a visual. Put your hands in front of you and make flat surfaces with each hand. Point your fingers toward each other. All right, now overlap your hands, and then each new layer of heart muscle, you want to crank, say, one hand up 10 degrees, and then you crank the other hand up 20, 30 degrees, and you crank the next hand up 40 degrees, and then you go backwards. You crank the next one down a couple of degrees, and then you go down. So the layers of muscle grow basically horizontal to vertical to horizontal. They move in layers opposing each other back and forth. It's really wild stuff.
Nice.
And this guy discovered all this shit by accident. But go ahead, Mark. I'm rambling.
I just put him on my things to do list. Frank Chester.
Yeah, and
that's interesting.
The shape he created,
you remember,
is known as the chestahedron. They named it after him, and they got an architect and they put a building together. And just his presentations are just mind blowing. Just mind blowing.
I'll listen to him. Do you recall at Christmas when everyone was dropping dead and they were bailing to Fantasy Island? I said, are they all going to Pedo Island or Fantasy Island, or are they actually dead? And they were all dying of heart attacks. And I just thought, there you go again. They're after the heart, That's all they're doing, is killing off all these celebrities with heart attacks. And there was some ritualistic symbolism going on there for sure. Because every other day, dead of a heart attack, dead of a heart attack. I go, what did he die of, a heart attack? Yep. I go, man, oh man, change the story. Give me something new.
Well, did you happen to?
It's about the heart.
Cancer.
Did you happen to know?
No, I'm talking at the end of the year. The end of the year when everyone was dropping it.
You said December. Was that on the solstice?
With all of those people that were dying in the last 2 weeks before Christmas, they were all heart attacks, right? Our little Jedi warrior princess, she died of a heart attack. Her mom, Debbie Reynolds, died of a heart attack. George Michael's shocked on a heart attack. That the big black actor died of a heart attack. It was Heart Attack Central because they're after the heart.
Wow, the last 2 weeks of the year.
Keep your heart strong. Yeah.
Is puts the solstice right in the middle of that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely interrelated. Always related to solstice. That's my logo on my Twitter. Is the solstice at the Stonehenge.
So what I kind of meant to ask you, what was your choice behind your logo? What made you go with the 1111?
That's the typical microwave 1111, right? So if when you're looking at how often do you see the 1111?
Remarkably often.
You see it very often.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly let me scroll and I'll show it to you. I'll tell you what
there are times of the year or certain times in my life where I see it all the time.
You know what it means openly? It's for me, it's awake. If you look at 1111, when people that see 1111 all the time, it means that you're awake and that you're aware and your consciousness is higher than the average person that's not awake. And that's why the 1111 to me is symbolic. And then the 322 is because the skull and bones is like, that's pure evilness of what we're living in.
New Being just asked a question, ever heard of heart cancer, anyone? That's a
great question, New Being.
That's a profound question.
Yeah, really. I've never heard of it.
Is no. A definitive no. Nobody's ever had heart cancer.
That's awesome. Here's the significance of the 1111 phenomenon, okay?
It's the two
Many
pillars.
people feel there is nothing special. Most people who are having the 1111 synchronicity are surprised to discover that thousands of other people are having it as well. There are many other theories as to the meaning of the 1111 experience, but it is also a very personal experience, and it means something different for everyone. No matter what the meaning or cause of the 1111 phenomenon, there's definitely some similarities that can be found among the individuals who are seeing it in such synchronistic and meaningful ways. And then there's all kinds of theories on the 1111. My theory is part of it is the awakenment and the enlightenment. And it's Dimension 1111 is the website. That's the dimension1111.com is where I take the 1111 analogy from.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, before we close out, I want to remind everybody that's listening that we have a couple of awesome upcoming shows. Amy, is CW Chanter, is that next week?
That's next week.
Okay, CW Chanter is next week. He's an interesting character. That's going to be a fun show. We also have on the hook 2 amazing interviews. We have, get this, everybody, Christopher fucking Dunn. This is the British engineer who wrote the book about the Giza Pyramid being a power plant, and I'm pretty sure the title of the book is called The Giza Power Plant. He's the guy we've seen on the Ancient Aliens. We're going to be interviewing Christopher Dunn, and we also have a reply to our email and willing to come on the show, schedule pending. We also have Michael Cremo, the author, and I've read his books, the author of Forbidden Archaeology and Forbidden Archaeologist. He also, I think he's been featured on Ancient Aliens and all over George Norrie's show. We're going to be interviewing him as well pretty soon. So we've got some awesome shows coming. Global Agenda, you're doing fantastic work. Keep doing what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, look, man, my channel is 2 years old, and I'm barely scratched over 700 subs. You're 4 years old, and you're 12,000 subs. Whatever you're doing doesn't compare to what I'm doing, buddy. Thank you for your time, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you indeed.
Brother.
Thank you so much.
And everybody in the chat right now, just so you know, the live chat box stays live for many minutes after we end the broadcast. So if you guys want to sit around and chit chat, I'll be in the chat box. And I want to thank everybody. You ready to go, Ian?
So thanks again, Global Agenda, for being here with us. Hopefully we can have you back again soon.
Wait.
I'd like to go into a little bit of numerology and things like that. So that'd be a good show.
I was wondering, didn't you have a question you were going to ask, Aaron?
Thank you, Amy. See, I told you we keep Amy around for a reason. And again, we're not pressed for time. We're not corporate controlled. Our overtime is what it is. So here's the final question. Everybody gets this from now on. Mark, what is your best opinion on the solution to the problem that we all face?
That's an Amy question.
I didn't come up with it.
That's an Amy question. I know, because Amy is talking about having a solution to the problem and not just pumping out videos that
that's why she's
fill out
here.
The problem.
She's a solution-based.
I think me personally, it's like the 1111 on my channel. It's like what I just talked about with Max. You know what? We can't control what these evil ditties are gonna do. So the only thing is you can keep your coat of armor and protection on, and meditate. Think positively, more so. Send people the energy that is permitted to leave your body and not be stolen. Don't let anyone steal your energy. Give your energy off. Promote your beliefs. Feel free. I mean, look what we get rammed down our throats every day. The solution to the problem, to me, we talked about it earlier. You have to get it into a frequency that is not inundated with Wi-Fi. And unfortunately, we're on our computers a lot, and you do get inundated with it. But I've taken myself off the grid. You heard me talking about watching old videos and that. I'm not watching live television anymore. I've taken it off since last December. And my conscience is clear, and I'm spreading the love and the message through my channel, through social media, Facebook, Twitter is usually a copy of my YouTube channel. But I think it's all about staying positive, promoting the love, and try to get to that next level of DNA. Go back, go get your third and fourth strand, and it's all to do with how you live your everyday life. You got to be positive, and you got to spread the love and give your energy where it's givable, and don't let anyone steal it, because they love stealing our energy. That's the solution immediately, to feel good every day, because we can't win unless we're all together in a positive spiritual realm. How's that answer?
That's fantastic. And did you know that the clock clicked 11:11 while you were doing that?
Yeah, it did.
Actually, it's 10:11 where I am, but I guarantee it's 11:11 somewhere.
Somewhere.
In Atlantic Canada, it's 11:11.
It's 11:11 on my channel.
All right,
funny. You like that one? It's 11:11 on my channel.
All right, you guys.
God bless.
Once again,
God
everybody
bless.
in the chat box, hang around, and I'll be able to interact with you a little bit more. The chat box will stay live for several minutes. And Ian, whenever you're ready.
So just thanks again. We got a new visitor this week, Lady Zaga. And Ohama Ben, thanks again. He was here the whole time. New Bean, great comments.
Eddie B. Bert.
Eddie B joined us for a while. Good. Jordan Rains, thanks once again.
Pablo Damon. Especially big thanks to Pablo Damon. I've been communicating with him. He's like my insider. He's like my, you know what I mean? How Carrie Cassidy is always talking about. She's got these anonymous insiders. I've got one. That's Pablo Damon. Thanks, buddy, for showing up.
P. Marie. God bless you, P. Marie, for showing up. Bert Trim, nice to see you. Omaha Ben, of course. Thanks again. I don't know.
Love you guys.
Love everybody. Thank you so much.
Good word, love. Real love. Not fake love. Not fake love, real love.
That's right.
All right,
love
you guys.
Always.
Thanks. Talk to you again, eh?
Next time
from Canada,
Mark,
eh?
Yeah, Mark, and if you want to hang around, we're gonna after we end the broadcast. So everybody, once again, love you and thanks for being here, and we will see you next week. Go, Ian.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks again.